officially call the meeting to order at 6:04 p.m. at the CPC office 3631. The next item of business is to conduct a roll call. Commissioner Adams.
Present.
Commissioner Benito, she's on her way. Commissioner Shura.
Present.
Commissioner Donaldson, excused absent. Commissioner Early.
Present.
Commissioner Garrett Ferguson. Commissioner Kennedy.
Present.
Commissioner Reeves.
Present.
Co-Chair Ridgway.
Present.
Commissioner Van Leer.
Present.
Commissioner Wong.
Present.
Commissioner Zayed. Co-Chair Rodriguez, present. We have the quorum necessary to conduct business. Please review the agenda. Are there any additional items at this time?
To the chair, I do have a question. Are we, when are we doing nominations for co-chair? Because that election will be coming up. What's the plan for that?
So I know that there is rules that is pending. Hopefully that it passes with a 2/3 majority of the commission, and then 15 days after the official minutes, then it will be implemented according to our bylaws.
I guess my question, if I may, my question is like, regardless of whether that passes or not, what are our plans for election of co-chairs? Is there a schedule set for this? I mean,
So our existing rules, if I may, already necessitate us to vote for the co-chairs by February. In the rule that's being passed today, hopefully, does not specify anything about when the nominations will occur. So I think, and it provides, we can have other people that want to nominate themselves do so in another way. I don't think it has to be like an official process. So I don't see any problem of it going forward today. It's not in contradiction, and we do, because otherwise we need to vote January 24th. So we would need to pass this and get the nominations today. So, I mean, there's something that, determines what the election process will look like, but I don't think it precludes any nominations at this point.
So you would like to include that on the agenda?
The rules. Yes? You said yes?
sorry?
She asked you if you want to include it.
I had a question, but yeah, that would probably make sense. Sure, that makes sense.
If we want, we
So-
can do it as part of the rules report if people want to nominate themselves, or the new business. I do have another new business item. I'm concerned that the current tenure for Jason as interim expires in April, and I'm just wondering, I just want to open the conversation as to what we're going to do, because it's possible that, I don't know exactly what the city could do, but we could end up with no executive leadership in April. And I'd just like to open that conversation in new business.
Any additional items?
To the chair, I would just formally make the motion to add co-chair nominations to the agenda.
I'll second. Okay, it has been properly moved in second that nomination of co-chairs will be added to the agenda. Any further discussion or debate at this time? Hence none. We have to do a formal vote. Commissioner Adams?
Aye.
Commissioner Benito? Aye. Commissioner Shura?
Aye.
Commissioner Early?
Aye.
Commissioner Garrett Ferguson? Commissioner Kennedy?
Aye.
Commissioner Reeves?
Aye.
Co-Chair Ridgway?
Aye.
Commissioner Van Leer?
Aye.
Commissioner Wong?
Aye.
Commissioner Zayed? Co-Chair Rodriguez? Aye. Since we did that item, do we want to do it for the Jason motion as well?
So it's not for Jason, but to open the conversation and potentially open the discussion and potential hiring committee for the executive director position. Just a discussion for that.
Discussion, okay.
someone could make a motion in it, but I think, I don't know how everybody thinks about it, so I don't want to make the motion yet. So,
Okay. Okay, since there's no other items, we're gonna accept the agenda set forth.
can we open, do we need a motion for that, to open the discussion? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, so it became part of the adoption of an agenda with 2 additional items on it. So at whatever point we put it on the agenda, that's when we'll bring it to the table for discussion.
Okay. So just a quick meeting decorum. We have each commissioner should ensure that they raise their hand and allow each commissioner the opportunity to speak. If nobody has spoken a second time, we'll go around the room again, as well as meeting guidelines to help with moving business forward. Any questions or concerns about that at this time? Okay. The next item of business is approving the October 25th meeting minutes. Are there any corrections or additions at this time? Well, I believe they sent them out. The only concern that I had on the actual minutes, it says this is a draft on the top of the meeting minutes.
Because they haven't been approved, right? Is it just a draft because they haven't been approved, or?
No, it says that there was gonna be more added to it. Yeah.
What, can I ask for clarification, what are the further details that will be added? Do you know? Mr. Walker here? Jason?
I'm not aware of any additions that have been requested that aren't already what you were presented with, so, the draft will be removed when it's presented as minutes, but no one has brought anything to me to revise or change those minutes, so,
Okay.
as far as I am aware, it's how they stand.
They'll be removed, we can do final amendments and clarifications when we're, after it's passed. Because that, removing that sentence does not change the,
Right.
and removing the title does not change the content of the minutes. That can be adjusted, for publication.
Okay. So the question is on the adoption of October 25th, 2023 minutes. Any questions or debate at this time?
Have there been a motion? Oh, I move to adopt the October 26th meeting minutes.
Okay. The question is on the adoption of October 25th. Any question or debate at this time? Well, I think we all in agreement and you seconded it basically.
I'll second.
So are there any question or adoption of the October 25th meeting minutes? Hence none. We're going to go forward with the vote. Commissioner Adams?
Aye.
Commissioner Benito?
Aye.
Commissioner Shura? Aye. Commissioner Donaldson? Not here. Commissioner Early?
Aye.
Commissioner Garrett Ferguson? Commissioner Kennedy?
Aye.
Commissioner Reeves?
Aye.
Co-Chair Ridgway?
Aye.
Commissioner Van Leer?
I was not at that meeting, so I abstain.
Commissioner Wong?
Aye.
Commissioner Zayed?
Aye.
Co-Chair Rodriguez, aye. The motion has been adopted as read. There are no further edits at this time. The next item of business is public comment.
Can you hear me? Okay, well, I can speak up. Okay, I'm gonna make this really quick. On December the 13th, we attended the meeting on 72nd Street, I believe. Commissioner Juan made a statement, which was an outright lie, that I want to take over the commission. No, I don't. I want to make sure that all of you do what you're supposed to do. That was the purpose of us coming. I'm not in none of your work groups, as you know, none of them. I did do a cease and desist, and I sent it to her, along to the city of Cleveland. and I'm going to make this clear with all of you. Apparently, you guys are making me a target. Stop it. Focus on what you were voted in for, and that is to have due process. If a complaint is brought in against an officer and a citizen, both of them deserve due process. Do not bother me anymore, because I guarantee you I will take you into court. So leave me alone, stop making these outlandish comments, and tend to your business. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is there any other comment at this time?
All right, good evening, everybody. We have known that from the beginning, everything has been chaotic. And it doesn't matter is all the commissioners or the community members. We have all witnessed so. And I have said that from the beginning when we started our meetings. Doesn't matter, it's a public meeting, monthly public meetings or committee meetings. Lots of you were selected, appointed to ensure the failure of the commission. Up to this moment, only very few of you actually capable of doing the job and actually making the effort. The people I would like to point out that would be Commissioner Wang and Commissioner Zayed, Commissioner Reed, Commissioner Benito. All of you guys actually move forward with your expertise more. And Commissioner Chura and other commissioners do offer their expertise because they have been on the force. Even lots of the former commissioners participate, try to strengthen the current commission. However, it seems like the efforts has been wasted because even after this whole year, commissioners, you still have demonstrated that you do not even know the rules you established for this commission. You still do things just because you feel like it. You think it's right. It's not because it's objectively correct based on city ordinance, based on all the rules you have approved, established here. Not even mention all the important practices already established by other cities with the consent decree. This is the reason why I have been saying that lots of you, if you do not know how to do this type of work, it's not your fault because all of you have this as your first time. But please don't stay on the seat. Let other people who can actually do the work to do it. And plus, the statement about some of the commissioners should be working for the city, I agree. But definitely it's not Commissioner Wang, for example. Definitely it's not Commissioner Zayed, I would say. Definitely it's not Commissioner Pete Van Lier. Sorry, I got your name wrong this time. But the thing is, if you guys really cannot work together and the co-chairs do not even know that throughout the process, your job is actually going out to get the proper funding or increase the funding for the commission, you guys actually should be going out to work on the things to establish the good standing of the commission. Instead of that, and your behavior is actually more towards the, you consider yourself as a city employees working for the city. That really jeopardizes the independency of this commission, which issue 24 actually authorized so. So please, if you do not really know how to do this work because it's your first time, do not prolong the mistakes. Yes, this particular charter amendment probably has to be amended again, but please don't go backwards. As the other advocates mentioned last week, Wednesday night. This is important. You guys are all good people, but your understanding of this type of works are not all on the same page, not even on the same level. This is the reason why certain commissioner put in a traumatic efforts, but their efforts has been sacrificed. Do not try to do something only to make the commission to look good. You need to do the things really good, which could be ugly, which can look ugly to begin with. So if your working experience always make sure that you will have to do things to make yourself look good, make your organization look good, please don't stay on the seat. This is a commission to do real work, to make up the big damage we have got throughout decades, even centuries. It's not a career ladder for any of you to look good. The good job you do actually will make you look ugly, but the history will remember you as a contributing member of Cleveland. Your legacy may not show up now because you are not old enough to have the word legacy to attach to you. However, your work will speak for you. But thinking about making things look nice, look good, is definitely not the way to go. I'm sorry, I have to repeat this again and again. But that's what community needs. Otherwise, without this revolutionary issue 24, the commission would never be able to do the work to regain the harmony between our community, our residents, and the police force, who are supposed to protect and serve, but now they do not even have the proper guideline because they have lots of flaws in their own system, which you should be the one helping them to reestablish that. So if you guys do not really know how to do the work, please don't stay on the seat. Thank you for the good job from Commissioner Wang, Commissioner Chura, Commissioner Pete, Commissioner Zayed, Commissioner Benito, and even I would say Commissioner Kyle. Thank you. And also the demonstration we had back on Saturday, I have to thank our Commissioner Dr. John Adams, and also he's not here today, Commissioner Donald. Yeah, and they have been making effort, but these effort really showed up late. We need more of those. We do need to speed that up. It seems like some of you started picking up the correct direction, but not all of you. If you cannot remedy this fast, you better leave so other people can up because we have been losing time. Thank you very much.
Hi. I just wanted to ask a question. I know you guys can't respond, but I don't know if I missed it at the very beginning, that there's seems to be security here being offered by the police, and I was just wondering if you guys asked for that or something to that effect. It just seems like it indicates that there's a security threat, and they, as far as I can tell, is not one, and I come to all of the meetings, so I was just wondering what that was about. But again, I know you guys can't directly respond to comments, so I was just curious. Thank you. Yeah, right. No, absolutely. Oh, I just want to be clear, not calling out you guys for being here. It does sound like somebody asked you to be here. So I just was wondering what that meant or was, or, obviously the officers. No, exactly. To be clear, I asked one of the officers here if he was working as security or if he was just in attendance. And I was told that he was working security and was asked to be here to work security. So that's why I was asking. Of course, anybody could be here as a member of the community. So I was just wondering what that was about. Thank you.
Maybe he can answer that question. Oh, you just told, okay. From the higher up? Was it the mayor? Okay. I'll talk to you afterwards.
Oh, okay. So thank you for that. Are there any other further comments at this time? Any further comments? Hence none, we're going to move to the next item of business. As discussed, the monitoring plan is basically something that was created by the monitoring team with all parties looking to have different dates for different items. The date for the CPC is January 19th. So leadership will review that, and then please expect some follow-up communication pertaining to that. The next item of business is, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, that's fine. So first of all, let me just greet each of you. Good evening. This has been a year of change. This has been a year of constant learning, and that learning will continue. We have yet to complete our freshman year on this commission. I don't think there is one person on this commission who has been a commissioner before, but I think that some of the contention that has occurred in this meeting has not prevented work from happening. There have been so much progress during this first year. We have actually developed our rules under the leadership of Chair Wong. We have had one of the most thorough commission trainings throughout the first couple of months, thanks to the training committee. We have actually established bylaws and rules. We have actually set up 3 or 4, I think we put you sometimes under both ends, the community engagement, understanding committees, but also under the police committee. But we have actually established police committees. These committees, whether it's policy, whether it's accountability, whether it's community engagement, whether it's training, these committees have been meeting, these committees have work groups, and these committees are moving forward. They have community engagement involved in this. For the very first time, we made a presentation before Judge Oliver during the consent decree status meeting. That had never happened before. Other people had spoken for this commission. We were invited to speak, and that's what we did. Each one of our committees has established an 18-month framework for how they want to do their work, how they plan to move forward. One of the most significant things we did, we had a very thorough process for grants where we were able to actually let $1,080,000 in grants to community organizations. Dr. Adams, Commissioner Zayed, the 2 chairs, and one day I interviewed 13 different community organizations. We have been working. Those organizations that receive money, they were here last week, but we were not able to acknowledge them. They are moving forward, getting all their paperwork in place, and we will be monitoring those grants and their progress and the implementation of the programs and services that they had stated that they would do when they submitted their application. We have been interviewing. We have been interviewing for a shared attorney. I think we have interviewed, 10 or 11 candidates over the last month or so. This commission has been busy, and despite the fact that there has been contention, it has not overshadowed the work that this commission has done. So what I just want to say, do not be mistaken. This commission has been busy. I think everybody on this commission has worked in some capacity to make things happen, and that's what we should be doing. This is the end of the first year, and we will be moving forward at the beginning of our sophomore year to do even more. So I just want to thank, as a co-chair, I want to thank each of you for what you have done to move this commission from where it was, which was nowhere when we got started. It was a group of people with a group of names, with a group with a certain amount of experience in the civic and community area. But you have proven that you are more than capable of being on this commission. You are more than capable of doing the work that's required to be on this commission. Is there more work that needs to be done? Most definitely. most definitely there is work to be done. But this contention that has existed in these meetings, it has not overshadowed the work that you have done. And I just want to say, as the co-chair, you should feel proud of what you have done. You should stand tall. You should be able to say to the community that we represent, we have been here to represent you. That's my co-chair statement. Thank you.
Thank you. Executive Director.
Good evening, everybody. As we close out the year, I don't have a lengthy report to give. I was asked specifically to talk about one thing on the agenda, but I am going to take a little liberty to extend that beyond and talk about staff in general as we move into next year. So we are on, we made an offer, and the offer was accepted for a shared attorney, which is a 50-50 cost-sharing arrangement with Department of Law. That attorney will be empowered to be an attorney, which means that they can actually do real legal work for us on our behalf, and the reason being so is because of the reporting structure. So I think we've covered that ground before. I'm not going to announce the name because I'll actually introduce that person when at our January meeting. So that will make it so that that person has time to prepare to onboard here without people asking questions or trying to seek them out. And I want to have a chance to onboard them just like anyone else would be onboarded before they're put out to the community at large. But I'm confident that we selected someone who has followed the work of this commission, is aware of what's going on, did the homework, did the research, knows what they're coming into, understands the gravity of their position, and still wants to take this job, including watching the video. So it takes a brave person to stand up and say, I'm willing to jump into that, and I think I can help. And so I think we found a good person who's willing to help this commission tackle some of its toughest issues as we move into the future. So we had a good hiring committee, and there was no disagreement that this was the right person between everybody on that entire committee. So I think that's telling unto itself that they did a great job. So that's the good news. The sad news is I lost a wonderful staffer who's been with us for 4.5 years. And I just want to say, on the record, we didn't have to lose that person, right? So as you guys move on and you pat each other on the backs for all the achievements you've made, don't forget about your staff, because whether I'm the executive director or the next person comes in, I can assure you that you will never keep a good team together if you don't support the people who support you, right? So, you know, as you give accolades for each other for the rules and the training and all that stuff, don't forget the staff handed you a great start. We gave you an incredible orientation that we worked on with no help, all right? We gave you a training plan. We gave you a draft rule book, right? All of these things to advance yourselves to where you are today, right? And there have been people here who have been here longer than you have, and we're about to lose another good staffer probably, right? And it wasn't about being here, right? We lost Sarah Anderson, who devoted 4 years of her life, and everybody, you know, talks about how great our website is and our communications. That was Sarah's doing, right? She was one of the greatest people I ever had the pleasure to work with. And all we had to do was fight in unison for her to stay here, and we would have achieved that, right? But because some people have a personal problem with my leadership, they refuse to step up and do the right thing and support their entire team, and I'm really disappointed in that, really disappointed. So I hope in the future you'll recognize your staff, your talent that you have, lift them up and support them because they are out here fighting alongside you, trying to make this thing work. So that's my 2 cents, and thank you. I do believe you've accomplished a lot, a great deal, and I believe that every single person here, their heart is in this work, despite the conflicts, right? I would say that about every single person at this table, that this year, everyone has shown me that they want to be here, that they want to fight for this commission in their own ways, right? We just need to have more conversations and mutually support each other a little bit better, and we can get through a really tough year, because there is a lot of talk about this commission and its current situation. And having been there all these years, I think we are under an existential threat, right? And it is right now the commission against a lot, right? Even our base who supported us the most, if you listened to our last meeting, right, you're losing your own base. So get yourselves together, right? Start communicating more and get ready for the journey ahead of you next year because it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. So thank you.
Yeah, I just want to make one statement. I am remiss in not identifying staff. I see staff as part of this commission. We're one body. I didn't see you over there and us over here. We are one body, this commission, and we function as one body. And you're right, nothing that we have done we could have accomplished without the staff that we had. I was remiss too in not mentioning the trauma series, which was one of the major achievements, that partnerships from the community came in and helped make that happen. And I know if any of you attended those, I know that you would also say that they added greatly to how our community sees us. But I see the commission as one body, staff and commissioners. I don't see staff over here and commissioners over here, so thank you.
We look forward to meeting the attorney. I think that will really help with different decisions and help ensure that they're in order as well. Commissioner Wong.
Thank you. So thank you for all your kind words for everybody. I hope everybody feels gratitude for where we are, even though it's been a little bit difficult. I have a question for Mr. Goodrick. So thank you for furthering that the hybrid lawyers, I like to call it, with the shared lawyer with the city. I am still not understanding, if you can explain to me. So we have this conflict of interest attorney that we're voting for, but there was always a third option of using our operational funds in some ways for a third attorney, which would be an in-house attorney. How did the decision come to be that we went the hybrid route? And I'm still very concerned because as I've spoken to many attorneys to get this attorney for the conflict of interest, every single one of them have identified conflicts of interest beyond the one that we are hiring Mr. Wallach for. So I would like you to explain to us how, if we need to enact that third option, what would be the obstacles and what would be the process with which we do so?
So that's a good question, right? So everything is trial and error. I think I covered this really, really well when I told you that we were going down this road, right? So I'm not going to rehash the whole reasons why we made this decision, but I will say this, right? Trust is a big issue, and I see it between commissioners and between staff and commissioners and between community and commissioners, right? So sometimes we have to take a leap of faith here, right? So I know this isn't the most popular decision I've ever made here, and I get that, right? But in no way does it limit your ability to go outside if you don't agree with the legal counsel you get from this person. So I think people are missing that fact. And you, Commissioner Wong, of all people, should know this because you've led the charge to get outside advice, right? So it's no different. If you don't agree with something that this attorney comes up with, it does not negate your right to ask for outside legal counsel, right? It never does, it never will. So you are secure in your ability to always get independent outside legal counsel and advice when this commission feels at its discretion it is required to do so. So we have that always with us, right?
So if I could respond, so that is the thing that I'm worried about, is that you said in our discretion, which is the conflict of interest attorney. We're facing some headwinds right now, still trying to finalize his contract. And if we had to go through this process every single time, and we are lay people, right? We can disagree with the attorney, but we don't know the law. We haven't studied it. We don't practice it. This will be, so I am just concerned that if we don't have someone that we have the ear of, and that has our interests as the commission completely, right, completely separate from the city, that certainly in terms of timing, we won't be able in real time to ask questions, and to that end, I'm still very confused why the law department, if it believes that the city is independent or has enough not conflicts of interest, to work with us collaboratively, why we've never had a city attorney even at our meetings. You know, I think at that point, so I just wanted us to maybe reframe, yes, we will deal with a conflict of interest attorney, but it's a very inefficient process that, say we have something that just comes up, nothing to do with some controversial issues, just a grant issue. Wouldn't it be great to have a municipal law attorney in-house working for us that we can trust 100%? You know, and I think some of us are, you know, some commissioners, we're at different stages of realizing this, but we're realizing we are facing some potential interference, and that suggests conflict of interest to me. So I just want to make sure we have the money in the budget. I don't think it should be more than a half-time attorney for that. Is there money in the budget, which we'll talk about later, for the in-house attorney that will not require discretion from a majority vote to be the counsel, the independent counsel for the commission?
So to the commissioner, no, that is not something that's in your budget. If you have a conflict of interest, you have a procedure. So I apologize that this procedure hasn't gone well, you know, between you and the law department, and it is between the commissioners who are negotiating the law department. Part of that reason is because I'm not allowed to be involved in it. But rest assured, if we have a conflict that I am not involved in, so I have to step out because the conflict is about me, we will get this done quickly, efficiently, and effectively, because it's my job to make sure we get under contract and get moving. So because other people have been managing this process and I am not allowed to get involved, unfortunately it's taken a lot longer, in my opinion, than it should have under regular circumstances. Because if I were managing it and it was handed off to me right from the start, we would already probably be at a decision from this attorney. But unfortunately, that is not the way it happened, because you weren't able to use your executive director effectively in this position, and you all had to handle it yourself because it was related to me. So in my opinion, a conflict will never take this long to resolve in the future, should you have some. If your motion is correct from the start, if I'm allowed to help you craft that motion, if the motion is voted on, and we move quickly to follow that process.
I do want to note that I disagree with you that there is no conflict of interest for you to be involved. You took the action and the decision and the warning from the city. There's no conflict of interest because the eventual lawyer, and I'm sure he's told you otherwise, that the eventual lawyer that we decide upon is voted by the entire commission.
With all due respect, Commissioner, I'm not going to put myself in a situation that can
Exactly.
cause me potential legal harm.
that
So
is
the
not a
advice was good
conflict of
advice to
interest.
remove myself from this, right?
But that is not a conflict
So,
of interest.
whether I agree with
that
it or not is
different.
So
irrelevant.
can we, are you done with your question and comment? Because I'm going to
go
move
ahead.
forward to Commissioner Early.
To the executive director, please stay at the table. We talked about staffing and the issues with staffing. I wanted you to address the community around two things, because on June 14th, with a majority vote, we voted to make you the executive director, which the mayor rejected. At that point, I wrote a letter and asked our co-chairs to go to bat for us in that regards. Can you talk about what that process, why that process has been held up? Number one. Number two, when we talk about losing staff, when we talk about losing staff, I want you to highlight the pay disparities that exist when it comes to the female workforce that we have compared to the male workforce, and how that is hurt and how it is unfair. Can you speak to that?
Absolutely. So to your first point, I think that this process was outlined by the law department, how to make a motion when there's a conflict, right? I didn't see any resistance from them in their process, right? They're saying, here's the process we'd like to follow. They didn't say you couldn't do it. They weren't fighting your power to do it, but they were very clear on a process. Some commissioners didn't agree with that process, wanted to argue back about the process, you know, and just didn't want to go through the motions. And so it became quite a bigger conflict than it had to be, right? There's nothing wrong with the process that Law Director Griffin sent over, in my opinion. It's an easy process to follow, and it allows you a quick thing that you can, a roadmap for every time you feel there's a conflict that you can get to a resolution. So I think part of that issue is if you look at the email exchanges between the city and the people involved in that, you can the story tells itself about why it turned into more of a conflict than it had to be, right? So that part of it is, I think the solution is to adopt that process formally, and then you have a way to go through this each time and lessons learned. So this is the first time we've done that. So give people some grace too, because this is it was a hard topic. It's very emotional. The who we want as our executive director here, you know, that has caused a lot more tension than I ever imagined that it would. So there has been a lot of that reflective in how this plays out, right? People are personally vested in that fight at this point, and it has caused undue delays in achieving one way or the other an outcome for that. So now moving on to the other question about staff. Many commissioners are aware because I've shared it with them. I wrote a memo. So let's start at the beginning. I was very clear when we went through our initial budget hearings, right, that there were disparities in pay in this office, right? And particularly, this goes back to when we were first established. There's a pay scale I have 3 project coordinators in this office. And there's a pay scale at the city for project coordinators. It's a lengthy pay scale. So it goes from like $20,000 some dollars all the way to $100,000 where you could fall as a project director, right? So there's a lot of disparity there. When we were first hired as staff here, it was under the previous administration, and we reported to the finance director at the time, who later became the chief of staff, Ms. Sharon Dumas. Sharon Dumas brought in all of our staff at a lower pay grade than is normal or competitive with the fair market. But even worse, it's lower and competitive than the rest of the city for jobs that are comparative, right? So with the exception of, we have a senior policy analyst here who's a project coordinator, who's a white male, and he came in at a higher rate. He was the first hire, and no one was able to match that rate, nor were we allowed. So I gave everybody, when they were hired, the maximum that the city would allow me at the time, because they were all underpaid for what they were worth, right? So my position was, whatever were they going to allow me to spend, that's what I'm going to spend. So when you guys came in, you inherited 2 project coordinators, Sarah Anderson and Shalana Williams, who were far below the scale what their peers are paid at the city. And even worse, myself as a white male and Ryan as a white male were the 2 highest paid employees in this office. And all my separations have been related to inequity. It's not because of my leadership skills. It's not because of this commission's hard work or the difficulty of our meetings to attend, right? Everybody who serves this commission loves to be here. So I lost Janita, who came back, and the reason that I have her back is because she was able to take another job at higher pay, and she came back to us, right? That's because we have a great team, right? But I wrote a memo to the city after City Council approved our budget, and under 115.5, I have authority to use that budget to pay people. I wrote a memo to promote in an interim basis one of our employees, Shelley Anderson, and give her the same exact pay that I was making as a white male in that position previously, and then to bring Sarah Anderson up to the other project coordinator in this office's pay, which is Ryan Walker, right? So very fair requests, right, based on equity and all of the things that are necessary to keep your team. Unfortunately, I was denied, and when I brought that problem forward, it was like it didn't have support here, right? Because in my opinion, people were busy fighting over me, and they were secondary collateral damage over the fight whether I should be in this position or not, right? So take me out of it, and the reality is the city said that there's a pay cap, right? But they never produced. I asked for documentation and evidence for why they were denying these raises. It was never produced. I asked for anything you can provide, and their answer was just, no, we're not doing this. Plain and simple, cut off, right? I even went with a counter proposal on the second head of HR, asked for them to reopen this issue. They were willing to work with me, help me, but then afterwards, it just died again. So, I did what I could to do it. There have been commissioners who were aware of this issue, and unfortunately, it just didn't have a collective I believe if we would have went as a commission and did everything we could as a whole to keep our staff together, we would have got them something. It may not have been all the way, but everybody who knows when you enter in a negotiation, right, you do what you can and you get the most you can, right? So would we have won the equity? Maybe not, but would we have got them something to stay? Absolutely, in my opinion. So
Commissioner Kennedy.
Jason, just real quickly, I just want to try to clarify, I guess, what you're suggesting. Are you suggesting that there is, shall we say, a discriminatory animus in pay on behalf of the city towards women in the staff as opposed to, say, white male staffers?
So what I'm saying is, on the surface in this office, when you look at the two highest paid people, it could appear that way, yes.
So not towards white male staffers, but to female staffers. Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is, this office didn't set those pay scales, right? But what we have is disparity. So it's definitely there. I pointed it out. There's a memo. I believe you have a copy of that memo, Commissioner Kennedy, so you know my standpoint on it.
Just clarifying what you're saying tonight. I read your memo. Thank you.
Yep.
I just want to say one more thing to follow back on that. When you say that it was brought to commissioners' attentions, I don't want you to tell us because that might just spark something, but I do want to say, moving forward in 2024, this should be an issue that the commission takes up with City Hall. We're going to have some fights, y'all. And one of the fights that I will fight for is to make sure that women have equal pay. I just can't stand by and allow that to continue to happen. And not only women getting equal pay, but us losing good staff. So I just want to put that out there so no one is surprised come 2024 when I raise my voice about this issue. Thank you.
Okay. So the next item of business is committee status reports. Is there anything from the internal training committee?
Nothing at this time.
The next committee is budget and grants, led by Chair Adams.
All right, thank you. To the chairs, one of the items that we recently did as the Budget and Grants Committee is that we passed our 2024 budget. So I believe we need to vote on that budget. So I'll just very briefly give a few points on some of the differences. One of the things that we discussed and we tabled and we came back for a second meeting about was regarding the idea of requesting a grants administrator position to assist us with the grant making process next year. And so we've requested that. I think that was banded about 60 to 80K that we're requesting. And then we are also requesting an additional $20,000 for the grant software to also assist us with the grant making process. So that was an additional ask. The 2023 budget was $2.089 million that we had, but we're getting an increase this year for a multitude of reasons. One in particular is there was an extra pay week in the calendar year, so the police get an extra check, and so we get additional funds from there. And so our budget for 2024 will be $2.21 million, which is about a $120,000 increase from the 2023 budget. So we requested those additional things. And then just to address Commissioner Wong's earlier concern, we did our best to put as many funds into operations as possible. So as you know, we all know and understand that there are two parts to our budget. There's the personnel side, which is literally our staffing, their benefits, their salaries. And then there's the operations side of it, which is essentially how we operate the commission. So the personnel budget is what it is. We have to pay people and we have to make sure they have benefits. And so the monies that we put aside we just did the best that we could. We had the money that we had, and so we put the money in the operations budget. And so we were, thinking about the different committees and what the increased needs of the commission may be. So I think that I would say that I think that if there was a scenario where we needed somehow to get some legal advice, I think that we could manage that within our budget. Those are my thoughts. I think that's not what we need to do. We do have the mechanism when it comes to conflicts where the city would have to pay for the attorney if we establish a conflict. So I don't foresee that we would need the monies for an attorney, but if there was some crazy situation, I think we could manage that. So I just want to say that to you. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to place a motion on the floor to approve the 2024 budget.
I second.
It has been properly moved in second. The question is on the adoption of the 2024 budget as drafted with the following additions: the grant program manager and computer software. Any discussion or debate at this time? Commissioner Benito.
I had a quick question on the for the grant program manager. So when it said in the email that it was estimated 35,000, is that the salary of the grant program manager? Estimated?
There were like 2 jobs.
I think the city would have to ban that position. So there's like a band, and then there would be a decision about the salary within the band.
And this is a full-time position?
We are requesting a full-time position.
I guess I would be curious to know, especially given what our executive director talked about pay scale. To me, 35,000 for a grant program manager within the city feels a little low. So
To the chair, it's not 35,000. This is a $120,000 request for salary and benefits, and another $20,000 for the grant software. Yeah.
So it's 100?
Yes. So.
Okay.
So that is what was passed by Budget and Grants Committee, was up to $120,000 in salary and benefits. By my estimate, this job will fall somewhere between $60,000 and $80,000. And then you add the benefits package, it's around a 50% fringe benefits package. So until we know exactly what we make an offer at, but I'm confident it'll be in that range.
okay, that seems a lot more appropriate. Thank you.
Commissioner Wong.
So I always think that most people, except for the CEO, probably deserve more money. So I don't mean my comment to suggest otherwise. However, I am a little concerned that we have a grants administrator that amounts to basically 10% of what our total grant output would be. And I say that only to say that we really need to find the right person that is going to make our job easier. That seems to me not necessarily the right balance there. I mean, maybe we should just get more grant money, and that would be the solution. But I think that we really need to be careful because that is a significant, even though like it is a significant salary, and I'm hoping that we find a person that is extremely responsible and will take the burden off of it, because I saw the budget and grants meeting running around at the last minute, working very hard to finish the grants. Thank you.
To the chair, what you just said is one of the reasons why we want the grant position, because they will be able to help us raise additional funds. So those funds could be used. We have to figure out a job description. I think we have a group of people together who are tasked with working on that. But we can discuss things about if the salary isn't where we wanted, do they get some type of bonus for the amount of grants? I think we can be creative with the position. I think where we were on the grant committee is we were all in agreement that we needed the position. And so there were concerns about whether or not the city would give us the position or not. But our stance on it was, we are going to ask for what we want and what we need. And if they say no, when we get a chance to kind of recalibrate the budget in June, then we're going to ask again. And every time we see them, we're going to ask, because when the commission went to the council meeting, I believe it was November when you all went to council. Was that November? But whenever that last meeting was, the council had expressed concern over the management of the grants, and they were concerned about making sure that funds were being spent appropriately. So we were simply responding to their biggest concern. And so we're hoping that because they are so concerned about it, that they will support us by giving us a position that we are advocating for, that we need.
Commissioner Early.
Thank you. I'm definitely in favor of this position, not only because we definitely need a grants manager who can bring in more resources, so it's an investment within itself, but also so that those who are awarded grants can be protected as grassroots organizations that struggle with infrastructure. So I'm pleased with this position. But my question is, does the hiring of this position come out of the grants committee or out of the hiring committee, just for clarity?
It's a staff position, and so according to charter, that is the duty of the executive director. So we're simply advocating for an additional position. So we're not asking to allocate this position out of our existing budget. We're asking for an additional $140,000, $120 that would cover the salary and the benefits for that person, and then the $20,000 for the software. So we would not be taking, because then that would take money out of our operations budget, and we need the position approved first.
Commissioner Benito.
I just wanted to, I think kind of in line with what Commissioner Early said, I just wanted to point out that I don't want us to, I guess I want to disagree a little bit with what Commissioner Wong said about concerns about this position being 10% of the grant budget. I think one thing is that it's not coming out of the grant budget, so this isn't money that is being removed from the pot that is given to us to give out. And then also, I think that grant administration does require overhead, and we already have an office that is understaffed and is doing a lot. I think that's something that we saw at NACOL, that there were a lot of commissions that have similar loads to us, but they have a lot more staff. So I think that there is sometimes a myth around needing to have as low as possible overhead in order to, to be doing a good job, and we really need. We need administrative overhead in order to operate well. And then I think also on the point of Commissioner Early, that because we are a grant program that is specifically trying to target grassroots organizations, that means we also do want to be providing additional technical assistance, which takes a lot of time, especially when you're looking at the volume of grants that we have. And also, I think that it was clear that we have a desire to support organizations as they apply for the process. So we're not only providing technical assistance to organizations once they're granted, but also organizations that are interested in applying. And so I don't think that a 10% overhead that is not coming out of the grant budget is an issue. And I just want to be cognizant that it's not just a regular grant program either.
Thank you. Commissioner Wong.
So I in no way suggested that. I understand that doesn't come out of our budget. However, the point I was making is that it represents 10% of our granting. And I do want to note that I secured through the Cleveland Foundation a volunteer, or like a free grants administrator, but the Budget and Grants Committee at that point didn't feel it was necessary. And I just say all this because of a certain sense of our responsibility to the community is also a fiscal responsibility. And I only wanted to say that the person we hire should be taking the burden off the commission. That to me is not burden, but like the responsibility. I do want to note though, in sense of proportionality, because the grants are one proportion of one sliver, and it was something that was added, and I think it's great. However, one core thing that we've never had this entire year is proper independent legal counsel. That was also part of the charter. We were supposed to have an attorney on the commission. It would have been a civil rights attorney, so it's not necessarily all the attorney work that we need. Jason, I just wanted, for a sense of proportion, how much did we spend this year on legal help? Just so we understand, and how, none, okay? And how much is the projected salary of the attorney? You know, we know that people do work when they're like properly compensated. So what is the salary for the hybrid attorney?
So, there is a motion on the floor, so as the secretary, you know, that's not in the scope of this particular motion at the minute, but I can give you that information, so.
I believe that that's 50. I think $50,000
So,
for the
I
attorney
mean,
comes
to
out
the-
of our budget, and then the city. I do just want to address just one last thing, and then we can hopefully take the vote. One of the things that is happening with the grants right now is that this process is ongoing. So even every step of the way that we've been through this, we've had something new that we had to address or potential problems that we had to solve. Although this is kind of out of the purview of most commissioners right now, we are still working with grantees. Like right now, I had to meet with Jason today because, you know, and it just supports why we need this person, because we have to work very particularly with specific grantees. So the city prefers sort of like this, a method where they prefer a reimbursement program where grantees would purchase things and then they would reimburse them. But you know, that's not the case for a lot of grassroots people. A lot of grassroots people may not have all of that startup cost. And so we have to work together with the legal department to make sure that the grantees will actually receive their grants and that they are going to need a support. And so even right now, if we had a person like that in place, in addition to helping us raise grant funds and things like that, they would be able to do some of that work for us as well. So I think one of the driving forces behind this position is that we want to support particularly the grassroots organizations, because we don't want a program where established organizations are going to be the only organizations that are going to be able to qualify for these grants. So we, you know, considered that when we were coming up with the position. I just want to just put that out there, that part of the drive forward is to provide the additional support for grassroots organizations.
Thank you so much. I know that it was a call for a vote. No further comments from anybody who didn't speak at this time. Okay. Commissioner Donaldson.
Not here.
I'm sorry. I meant Commissioner Adams. I was looking at you. Commissioner Adams. Commissioner Benito.
Aye.
Commissioner Shura.
Aye.
Donaldson is not here. Commissioner Early.
Aye.
Garrett Ferguson is not here. Commissioner Kennedy.
Aye.
Commissioner Reeves.
Aye.
Co-Chair Ridgway.
Aye.
Commissioner Van Leer.
Aye.
Commissioner Wong.
Aye.
Commissioner Zayed.
Aye.
Co-Chair Rodriguez, aye. Motion passes with unanimous consent. The next item of business is just to review the grant audit survey. So that was submitted to John, and please look out for that to help with providing feedback on the last grant process. At this time, the next item of business.
To the chair, to the chair, I can't move to the chair, through the chair to the director of budgets. I can't move forward with posting the RFP for the survey unless you put a motion that passed on your last agenda to approve that $30,000 to move forward with that survey. So it passed. You had passed that project at your last meeting. I needed to, if you want me to post that RFQ, I needed to move forward through this business cycle.
I just saw it under the outreach committee, so I thought Sharina would introduce that motion when she did her. Yeah.
Okay, so the next item of business is Rules Committee. Chair Wong.
I just want to thank my Rules Committee for their persistence. We had thought at this point in our tenure that we would be, you know, have nothing to report, but it seems like the rules can always be improved. We are introducing Rule 1.44 as approved by the Rules Committee on 12/6/23. We worked extensively on this rule to revise it. I think a total of probably 4 hours at least. So thank you to the committee for that. And you can definitely stream if you want to watch our live edits. You know, they're riveting. So I don't know if the audience would want me to read it. It's quite lengthy. We can give you a version of it. I don't think it's necessary at this point. I do want to make a motion for Rule 1.44 as leadership. This motion, just so you, or this rule has to do with the co-chairs. So if any of the audience members would like to understand why we revise the rules, any of the committee members would be willing to speak with you. But generally, it was an attempt to balance the powers of the co-chairs and to also refine the electoral process for selecting them. I will make a motion now for the adoption of Rule 1.44 on leadership. Do I have a second?
Second.
It has been properly moved and second. The question is on the adoption of Amendment 1.4.4 leadership. At this time, question and debate. Commissioner Benito.
Commissioner Donaldson, who could not be here, has asked me to read a couple statements on the motions that are coming up tonight. So the first one, this one. So I just wanted to read the statement, if that's all right with the co-chair. His statement is that the rule states that a co-chair or both co-chairs may be removed through a majority vote. For example, with 10 attendees, 6 votes are required to pass. In my opinion, if this rule passes, the same standard should be met to remove the chair of a committee. The process to remove the chair of a committee will most likely be covered in Rule 1.4.5. For example, when removing the chair of a committee with 5 attendees, 3 votes are required to pass. That's the end of the statement from Commissioner Donaldson.
Could I address that, please? So I appreciate that. And I had argued for that symmetry. The problem with that statement is that right now the rules is majority plus 1 for the removal of the co-chairs. It's moved down from the supermajority of 9 out of 13, which essentially is 9 out of 11, which is 80%. I had argued for uniform symmetry, that the co-chairs would be elected by majority of the commission. It's now the majority of votes cast and be removed by the same process. You know, so I think this is, I wish that the Rule 1.45 could come along with this so we can balance the powers between the committee chairs, the co-chairs, and also Mr. Goodrick. But that is my dissent with this motion, as I argued that it should be the symmetry. The symmetry that he's asking for doesn't exist right here. And also, Mr. Donaldson is not correct. It's majority plus 1. We had decided on that, I think, to balance out the power a little bit because it was already an imperfect kind of system. So I just wanted to address that.
Commissioner Kennedy.
Through the chair, Commissioner Wong, can you walk us through, so in this moment, right, before, like this, where this rule has not been passed, if one of the commission members wanted to remove one or both of the co-chairs, what would the process be now, and how would it change the existing process?
I think right now, my understanding, and if you, Mr. Goodrick, can add, is that someone would make a motion, it would be a majority vote because we are ruled by majority vote right now. It's in Robert's rules, so it would be a motion, it'd be seconded, it would be discussed.
Can you walk us through how this rule changes that, just for the good of everyone's understanding?
This rule changes that because it is contingent on the other things that are changed. We changed the electoral process in a way to make it more fair. Right now, I think, we just had whoever got the most votes got the co-chairs, right? We voted in one batch, and whoever got the most votes. Now it's going to be, and I'm explaining this because I think it'll explain the removal process. Now we're going to be voting in single rounds for one person. If they do not attain the majority of the votes cast, which might be different from the majority of the commission, which I had argued for, then the 2 top getters in that round will go to a runoff. And the second round will be repeated in the same way, and that's how we will elect the 2 co-chairs. That's the change. And then the removal process, I think, I'm not sure now. I feel like now I'm a little bit confounded because I thought there was the draft added at 2/3 majority? Was that what happened for removal of co-chairs? Is that why it was existing that way? For the for the co-chairs?
What's your question? I'm not sure.
What was the original removal for the co-chairs?
In the original rules, or there was nothing in the original rules about?
Okay, there was
removal
no,
of
so
the
then I feel like there was, but in a draft there, I did see 9 out of 13 in the draft.
Yes,
So
in
then
the
there
first
was a draft written for this rule, and it was 9 out of 13, which I think is assuming, I mean, we could ask for removal of 1 co-chair or 2, but it could be 9 out of 11 or 9 out of 12, which is an obscenely high amount percentage-wise, and it doesn't have that equity. So we've now, there was discussion to just make it a simple majority to remove a co-chair or 2 co-chairs. I don't know if it would be a simple majority of the commission or a simple majority of the votes present. But in order to kind of balance out, because Mr. Goodrick is, to balance out the power in my view, Mr. Goodrick, his removal process, or the ED's removal process, is 2/3, and it's set by the charter. That's not changeable. So the thought was to maintain a balance between, yes, we want the co-chairs to maintain the majority consent and support of the commission, but given the other powers at play and a sense of like not creating too much chaos and churn, we came up with majority plus 1. So, and majority plus 1 is very hard to do, so we actually wrote out, because majority plus 1 is better than like a percentage, because a percentage would give you in between numbers. Does that make sense?
So it's not changing from the.
No, before it was a simple majority.
Okay.
If you do majority plus 1, 12 this would be 7 votes.
So that was the principle to the chair. This is the procedure we came up with. So that's what the Rules Committee voted to move forward to the full commission. And it's, it's complicated because as the member said, it's about, it's easier to just, we decide just to spell out the numbers for every scenario that we would have. So that's what that is.
So, okay,
They are all accurate as we passed. These are the numbers we discussed in detail, and this is the process we determined. So if you have problems with that,
Oh, no. I don't have a problem with that. I'm asking for a clear explanation. That's all I'm asking for. So, right now, right? So this rule hasn't passed yet. Right now, if someone was to decide to move a co-chair, and we called a vote, right? Someone seconded it. We went through the discussion. We called a vote. It would just be the majority of the people in order to complete.
If it's on the agenda, right? So it would require more if it was done as a motion otherwise, because it's treated like a regular motion.
Right.
So motions are treated differently with votes depending on whether they're on the agenda or they're not on the agenda. So, but generally a majority. Yeah.
So
Here, if it was not on the agenda, what would it be? It would be.
So to the chair, our bylaws, just to be clear, are above Robert's rules, and our bylaws specifically say all motions are approved by majority unless otherwise specified in the bylaw. So you can always disregard what Robert's rules say about specifics to votes, because we adopted a higher standard for ourselves. So right now, as Chair described, just to be clear, a motion, a second, a debate, a vote, and it would be the majority of those present would unseat a co-chair in that situation.
But I guess to answer your question, this won't take an effect until we have our vote, and then it's officially in the minutes, and then 15 days after that.
That's not what I'm asking.
Right.
That's not what I'm asking.
She's asking why it's changed, right?
No. I'm not asking why it's changed. I'm asking for someone to clearly walk me through scenario A and scenario B, right? So we just got scenario A. Scenario A is that it's a simple majority, right? So it would be like 50 plus 1, so to speak. Scenario B, someone walk me through a hypothetical where this rule is different from what would happen now.
I see what you mean. Because it's majority plus 1, simple majority plus 1, this thing. Yeah.
It's not majority plus
So it's
one.
50.
Majority plus
It's
1.
spelled out here
Sorry.
as the number.
Right. So why 50? So I don't understand why 50 plus 1 plus 1.
We did that well, it was probably talking down from, because originally the draft was written by Ms. Benito and Mr. Goodrick as a. Okay, well, you worked with Jason. I was supposed to work on the draft, and I would never have agreed to a supermajority. So we talked it down to this, but the thought is to balance the other powers, because we don't want, like, I would have, okay, if it was simple majority of the commission to elect the co-chairs, then I would say simple majority to remove. Now we have this caveat that it's the majority of the votes. And my problem with that right now is that if someone doesn't gain the support of the majority, how can they don't have to maintain that majority, as we saw with one of the elections of the co-chairs, that means that the minority could rule, right? So that was the process we came up with. I mean, are you suggesting that it should be a removal process of just a simple majority? You're hoping?
I'm not making a suggestion. I was just asking for a clear explanation, which I feel like we finally got there. However, I think that this last section of this proposal seems sort of a little unnecessarily confusing. I guess I don't know why it needs to be 50 plus 1 plus 1. No, it's either
it's because the percentages, we wanted to balance the percentages out, and if you do percentages, you get decimals. So we had to either round up or down. So we actually, depending on how many people are present, right? Because it originally said like 2/3 or something, and or 70% or something. And we found this was clear. I mean, Mr. Van Leer, do you have anything to add? We just listed every single scenario, because every other scenario, you would not have quorum.
so
I
it's
think
not 50 plus 1 plus 1.
but it's
It is not precisely that. We came into the issue of looking at percentages and what made sense, and we wanted to create a higher bar, but we also wanted to be absolutely clear on what it would take to do this. So that's why we spelled out each scenario with as long as 7 attendees are there. We went through a long process, believe me, of figuring out what would make sense and to reach the goal of having a higher bar than a simple majority, and one that would make sense, and that would be very clear. And we first said try to come up with percentages, but because of the small numbers, it's you have to round up or down. What are you going to do?
Right.
So this was just a way to really spell out very clearly what each scenario would look like.
Okay.
I know
Okay, so from your perspective, Commissioner Van Leer, the votes required to pass listed in this document, is it different? Are the votes required to pass any different from what would happen right now without this rule being passed?
Yes.
Well, Director
Yes.
Goodrick explained what that would be. I mean, so yes, it's different.
By what exactly? Can you give me a hypothetical?
It's simple majority plus 1, but we have to, sometimes because it's an odd number, we give a little bit more to that odd number situation. So
Commissioner
That's it.
Benito.
So, for example, if there were 12 attendees, if we were to take a vote right now, it would require 7 to pass, whereas now it would require 8 votes to pass.
So it is majority plus 1 plus 1.
not always.
So, and I will say that if the numbers feel confusing, I would say that we did spend a total of 4 hours going back and forth on this, and there was even between the two meetings, there were times that positions changed about whether it should be a supermajority versus a simple majority. And my perspective on this is that it's attempting to split the difference.
Right.
Between those two things.
Right.
And so, and if if on some of these it doesn't equate to just majority plus one, or majority plus one, it's because some of the numbers are odd numbers. But what we are voting on is these numbers, not necessarily a majority plus one or majority plus one. We are voting on these numbers, just to be clear.
Okay. That was helpful. Thank you, Chandra. I think also, in the future, when we're talking about passing a rule with, for example, the process to remove co-chairs and such, that we can do a better job at explaining it clearly so that everyone can understand.
Thank you. Any other comment? Commissioner Adams.
I would just like to say that I watched those two rules meetings. They spent a lot of time on it. It wasn't easy for them. And clearly honestly, they went back and forth about this forever. It's just not an easy, I don't know if there's really an easy way, but I want to remind everyone that we can if we find an issue with the rule, we can always come back and revise it. So I'm going to suggest that we respect the time that they put into the rule, that we pass the rule, and then we can always come back and amend it.
Okay. Thank you so much. So the question is on the adoption of 1.4.4 leadership. We will call for a vote. Commissioner Adams?
Aye.
Commissioner Benito?
Aye.
Commissioner Shura?
Aye.
Commissioner Early?
Aye.
Commissioner Kennedy?
Aye.
Commissioner Reeves?
Aye.
Co-Chair Ridgway?
Aye.
Commissioner Van Leer?
Aye.
Commissioner Wong?
So I issued my dissent, but I will, just as a cautionary note, but you're right, we can change it, so I will vote aye.
Commissioner Zayed?
Aye.
Co-Chair Rodriguez? Aye. Motion passes. The next item of business.
We are not done with 1.45, so I'm not sure why that was put on but we will edit accordingly at our next meeting.
Okay.
And you may watch our 2-hour session.
Oh, yeah, no. Okay. The next item of business is Outreach Committee. Commissioner Zayed?
Hello, everyone. So I'm going to give an update on the community survey. So a survey work group was formed of 3 individuals, 2 commissioners, and 1 community member. The goal was to come together and to make edits for the community survey and move it forward. I must add that Commissioner Kennedy had to work on those survey edits alone because the commissioner that was partnered with her failed to respond to requests to meet to complete the survey, which made it difficult for the community member to be involved in the process. So Commissioner Kennedy moved that along on her own. It passed in the outreach committee once she made those edits and went forward to budgets and grants. So right now, I'm going to make a motion for $30,000 for my motion is for the $30,000 for pending RFQ for the survey to be passed so we can open that up and get that survey worked on.
I'll second.
It has been properly moved in second. The question is on the adoption of the $30,000 for the RFQ for the community survey. Any questions or discussion at this time? Commissioner Wong?
I think I already know the answer, but I just want to confirm that this is for the funding and that if there are kind of questions that arise from our, I know for example, the surveillance tech work group and policy, I would love for some questions for that work group, to be asked to the community because those policies are directly affecting them. So I just wanted to confirm that we can still adapt the survey to dynamic needs.
Yeah, and that's what it is. So the $30,000 is so we can put an RFQ out so that a a polling firm will help us administer the survey. We're also going to we haven't finalized the survey. It's still a draft because we want to work with them to perfect it. So that may be adding additional things on.
Any further question or debate? Hence none, we're gonna move forward. Commissioner Adams?
Aye.
Commissioner Benito?
Aye.
Commissioner Shore?
Aye.
Commissioner Early? Aye. Commissioner Kennedy?
Aye.
Commissioner Reeves?
Aye.
Co-Chair Ridgway?
Aye.
Commissioner Van Leer?
Aye.
Commissioner Wong?
I
Commissioner Zayed?
Aye.
Co-Chair Rodriguez? Aye. Motion passes. The next item of business.
okay.
No, I just want to add something to the outreach report, that because we didn't have a meeting in November, you all with NACO, we did have a outreach event on Miles at the Kenningsworth Meeting Place where Commissioner Zayed, CPD was there to kind of physically do a survey, just to talk to the community, let them know who the CPCR is. Did I say that right? English? Okay. Anyway, just want to put that out there that the outreach committee is doing something.
Thank you so much.
Just a point of clarification too, so everyone's on the same page with that $30,000. It's already been set aside from this 2023 budget, so it is money that we're using out of that budget. It will not be coming out of 2024 budget.
Thank you so much. The next item of business is the police committees. We'll start with the Police Policy Committee. Commissioner Pete Van Leer.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Rodriguez. The Policy Committee has been doing some work, particularly through its work groups. So we've had a surveillance tech work group that has met a few times, and we have spent a lot of time looking at the ShotSpotter GPO, and we will be taking that up in tomorrow's Policy Committee meeting, and that will eventually come to the commission. We've also started looking at the FUSIS, which does not, as far as we know, have a GPO, and we will be looking at issues or concerns about that and what our suggestions are with that, what our work is with that. And we also have a crisis intervention and behavioral health work group. So I don't know, Commissioner Benito, if you'd like to speak to that work at all and talk about what's going on there.
Sure. We've had 3 meetings, and the members are a mix of people with lived experience and also practitioners and leaders in behavioral health in our area. So far, we have kind of been working on laying the groundwork for what we'll be doing as a work group. We and getting all the work group members kind of up to speed on the commission and relevant pieces of the consent decree, understanding the distinctions between the CPC and MRAC. And then we also did a presentation for them about the recent findings out of Minneapolis and Louisville about the findings around violations of the Americans with Disabilities Act that many of us saw and learned about in NACOL. And then and we will be moving to have monthly meetings, and they are on the calendar, and people are welcome to come watch if they want to. There'll be additional updates that we'll discuss in tomorrow's Police Policy Committee meeting.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner. So now I'd like to move on to this motion regarding GPOs, notices, directives, and orders. Hopefully you all have that in front of you. So this is a motion that has been in the works for a couple of weeks now, and we've done some revisions and essentially distilling it into a process that requires the division and the commission to establish a regular meeting schedule around these policies, particularly the GPOs and divisional notices that actually impact police policy. And through those meetings and other means, we're going to be notified when there is a change to a policy or a new one is being created. So that's in there, and then that's going to apply to all division GPO meetings. Like, we'll need to be in this process from pretty much from the beginning and be aware of what's happening. That will be identified, and then there's a process that we'll have to do final approval in terms of how we're going to approve the GPOs and where that happens in the process between the division, the city, and the monitoring team and Department of Justice. So we have some language in here around an emergency. So this came up, as you may be aware, in the mayor's letter last week in response to the original motion. So one way of dealing with that is through divisional notice. We're clarifying that it's not just all divisional notices, but those that impact police policy directly. So we had a meeting yesterday. Commander Carney was there, as well as other representatives of the division and the city, Chief Spencer Thomas, Dr. Anderson, and we had a pretty good discussion around the process, and it became clear that that was at least some of the concern around including divisional notices. So we've clarified that in this draft based on that conversation. The other part of that is also to really be clear on how the emergency process works, that the division must provide the commission with a timeline and detailed justification as to why there's an emergency, and then we can come back and we'll consult internally and determine whether that is justified. And then we can bypass the committee work and go straight to the full commission as we determine. Now, that's from my understanding in the conversations I've had, there are very few actual GPOs and policy orders that are really emergencies. It usually takes quite a while to work through the process, partly because there's internal things with division, but also we're working with the DOJ and the monitoring team as well. But we have that provision in there just to provide that opportunities if something does come up in that way. And we also have where the approval comes from. Again, that was modified somewhat yesterday. It could be either, our executive director will sign for the commission, for the city of Cleveland, the safety director, or the chief of police. So that's essentially what we have here. And so I would like to make a motion to pass this tonight in full commission.
It has been moved and seconded. The question is on the adoption regarding GPOs, notices, directives, and orders. Any question or debate at this time? Commissioner Early.
Thank you. To the chair, to the community and the rest of the commission members, I want to thank the policy committee for their input on working on this. I do want to say that during this process, I don't apologize for being aggressive and going after this policy change, but I do want people to know that my intent was not to shut down GPOs altogether. It was just to make sure that we were a part of the process, we had a voice, and we could do what the charter requires us to do. So that's the motivation by pushing this motion forward. Thank you.
Co-Chair Ridgway.
Yes, I just have a question for the chair of the policy committee, and it was a concern of mine before, and I think, we've had some initial discussion about it, because I know prior to the last couple of days, there had been no attempt to talk to the police's policy person. And I was interested, I'm interested in process always, because usually before a committee motion comes to the full commission, it has to be discussed and approved in committee. Then it comes to the full commission for a vote.
To the chair, I'd be happy to respond. First of all, there were numerous attempts made to communicate with division in the city on a number of issues related to the policy work, and we did not get the results we wanted. So I think this process from Commissioner Early actually helped jumpstart a lot of conversations. And after that was introduced, I ended up having a conversation with Commander Carney. And as I mentioned, we met yesterday with a group of people from our work group, from Director Goodrick. Commissioner Benito was able to be there, and it was a productive conversation. One thing in follow-up, and also I do want to take issue with it's my understanding that in the rules, of looking at the rules, there's not a requirement that we go through committee. I think it's a good process in general. And in fact, while we've not had a policy committee meeting about this, we've had a lot of conversations, one-on-one conversations. Commissioner Early has really spearheaded that, sort of like reaching out and getting input even from some non-committee members. So there's been some pretty good process. I'm not aware of anything in the rules that says we have to go through committee. I think any commissioner has the ability to put something forward to the full commission. I wouldn't argue that it's best if we can have really good discussion ahead of time in committee, but I don't believe that's in the rules. The other thing I want to highlight is that Commander Carney mentioned to me today as a follow-up that this essentially a draft of this with some differences that some changes have been made since last week to this piece. I took Commissioner Early's motion and distilled it into these bullet points, and I presented it to that group that met yesterday. And Commander Carney mentioned that he had taken essentially that with a few tweaks, one of which is also in here about the divisional notices that impact policy, and he has sent that along to his to Deputy Chief, to whom he reports as his proposal for the process that we should follow. The division should also follow. So this, passing this tonight will put that in play very directly. This is, according to the charter, we have the authority to do this, and this simply starts to put the process together so that we can move forward with the powers granted to us, the authority granted to us in the charter.
Yeah, I appreciate the additional information on, on this whole piece, because I do believe that there must be discussion at committee, that committee need, whether it's formally in the rule or not, because I know last week there was some committee members in policy that had not seen this motion before it was designed to come to the full commission.
Okay, so we had Commissioner
Just for clarity,
Van
that's
Leer.
that's false because this motion was sent out before the commission meeting. So all of the commissioners saw this particular motion before. Discussion is not necessary, but the motion was sent out to all commissioners.
So we got Commissioner Pete Van Leer.
Yeah, so I've actually said what I was going to say in my
Okay.
last comment.
So
maybe.
then we have Commissioner Benito.
I have another statement to read from Commissioner Donaldson. I am both of us tonight.
Okay.
But before I do that, I did just want to echo some of what Commissioner Van Leer and Commissioner Early have said. I think that I'm very happy that we are moving forward in establishing this process. And I will say I did want to just acknowledge Commander Carney. I really felt like at our meeting yesterday that Commander Carney and additional members of the CDP really came in with a lot of willingness to engage in this process. There was no real disagreement on the process that was laid out, as Commissioner Van Leer said. So even though I know that there has been the letter from the mayor that expressed some concern, I did feel like there was a lot of cohesion between what the CDP would like to see as a collaborative process and what has been laid out in this motion. So I just want to, there's a couple folks here tonight that were at that meeting, and I just want to thank them for their role in this. And then I will go into reading Commissioner Donaldson's comment, which says that, in my opinion, the policy committee should have collaborated and presented the motion cohesively. Additionally, in my opinion, the motion should include guidelines regarding the timeliness of the commission's response, for example, within 7 days. The motion does state that the commission's meeting schedule shall not delay passage to advance critically important policy. However, the motion should also state how much time the commission will have to respond. Thank you.
Oh, sorry, Commissioner Kennedy.
Thank you. So I don't know that Chair Ridgway was suggesting that it is a requirement that these right, that this is supposed to come out of community, but rather that it's perhaps a best practice. I share Commissioner Donaldson's concern about it not coming out of committee. And I'm wondering if anyone can speak to why it didn't come out of committee. Was there anything preventing the committee from coming together and voting it out of committee if there was such collaboration and support as was discussed tonight?
I'm happy to respond if that's
You can
appropriate.
first, and then I will. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, I will say that part of what came up was like when this was presented to me by Commissioner Early and we discussed it. Initially, my thought was like, well, why don't we try to work through this through the committee? Because while it may not be in the rules, as I said earlier, I agree that it's probably best to do it that way. But because it's December, our schedule is not, because we're not going to have a full commission meeting after our committee meeting. Usually we have the committee meeting is on Wednesdays, the third Wednesday, and the full commission meeting is at the end of the month. And it just felt like there was some urgency because we hadn't been getting responses. And this felt like a way, and clearly we've already made some progress. We've gotten a response from the division. We've had a productive meeting. So again, as I mentioned earlier in response to Commissioner Ridgway, I agree that it's best if we can have a discussion, and the circumstances don't always allow for that, though. And I think we've remedied that. While as last week, perhaps that discussion hadn't happened, a lot of conversation among committee members and even non-committee members has informed what we're doing right now. So I know that's not exactly what you're saying, and yet we're here now, and we have. I don't disagree that it would be great to work through committee, but I feel like we are in a point now where this can be a productive assertion of our authority and a collaborative way to work with the division, and we've already started on that road. So I'll cede to Commissioner Early.
Well, it was Commissioner Wong, and then.
Yeah, I was just responding to. So for me, it was none of the motions that I've ever presented have come out of committee. I've always put motions on the table on the spot. It is something that I have the right to do as a commissioner. We don't have to. We don't have a process of going through committee. I will say this. I have heard the rumblings, and some of you have even spoken to me about this word called process. I respect process until process interrupts progress. And I think that we continue to have a lot of process talk and, conversations. But this was a sense of urgency because we could not go into another year without being a part of the GPO process. So again, for my fellow commissioners, I don't apologize for being aggressive, but I didn't break the rules. But again, sometimes process gets in the way of progress, and that's my stance on that. Thank you.
Commissioner Wong.
Okay. Thank you. So I do, as the rules chair, want to concur with Mr. Van Leer that the only rule we have for something that has to go through the rules committee is a rule. Before, that was because it has such broad effect on the workings of the commission. I am not here to argue about the process, except that I feel that the process has affected the content. I don't believe in arguing the process just as a stumbling block. So I have a divergent, something to say about this this motion. What I'm concerned about is that what actually happened is I read Mr. Early's, and please bear with me because I want to make all my points. I read Mr. Early's motion, I thought about it, and I am 100% on board with us asserting our final authority for GPOs. I think that is great for collaboration and is great for the maturity of the commission. I wish it actually had been done sooner, quite honestly. So I understand the urgency of getting this through. However, I have quite a bit of misgivings about the motion as printed. I attempted last week to draft a simpler motion because I think the spirit of this motion is that we want to cease the enactment of GPOs without our final authority and consent, and we want to necessitate that there is a collaboration which requires giving us the drafts, giving us the physical materials of the GPO. So I crafted another motion to address that, which was simply that, I'm sorry I didn't forward it because I forwarded it to the committee, simply was to say that within 45 days before something, and these can change, right? These numbers can change. 45 days before something, the GPO or directive is enacted, the city would have to give us those drafts. And if they don't, it won't go live. If they didn't fulfill that first part, it will never go live. But we as a commission can vote with full authority, with our majority vote, to enact it sooner. And I did this because it's the inverse of what is somewhat asked for in Kyle's first motion, because I anticipated that the mayor may say, oh my gosh, you guys have all the authority for the GPOs. This could create a situation that GPOs are held up, right? I think our goal is to collaborate. So how do we put up the barriers and facilitate that behavior? Going back to, so I submitted that motion to Mr. Van Leer, the whole committee. I'm a little bit disappointed that the only thing of my motion that was included was not, and it's not because it's my motion, it's because I think that that is a better process to facilitate the collaboration and behavior, is the two whereas clauses. And the first whereas clause, as I thought more about it, shouldn't even be in this motion because it talks about policies regarding recruitment, what Mr. Chura has said should be included. He wanted a broader motion, I believe, for it. And going through very quickly my problems with this motion, there are things just broadly that I feel either are already happening. So like from a bird's eye perspective, I'm having trouble understanding how this changes our relationship with Mr. Carney and other people, how we are enacting our authority. Because what I see really happening is that we're having a lot of meetings. And you know, I like meetings, I like meeting people, but I like meetings that are productive. So in the first, the fourth paragraph, a regular meeting. Well, there is already a schedule for GPOs. Are these going to be additional meetings? The second, the next paragraph, there's a lot of words in there that I am troubled that will bind us legally. Sometimes when we add words to specify, it actually traps us more. That's why I asked for a simplified motion. And then I'm very concerned about the penultimate paragraphs that give the co-chairs, the policy chair, and the executive director the ability to enact a GPO in an emergency. Mr. Van Leer has already said that there are like limited circumstances for that. So I would like that spelled out. And if it's limited circumstances, I don't know why that clause or those paragraphs are already there, because I'm very concerned that the power to enact policy, which will affect all police officers and the community, will rest in the hands, if they can say it's an emergency, in 4 people's hands.
That's incorrect. Point of clarification.
So how does that not?
Just to clarify, it says in the motion that whether it is considered an emergency rests in the chair of the policy committee, the executive director, and the co-chairs. But then it says here that then it would that would then bypass the committee, and then it would be voted on by the full commission in a special or emergency meeting of the full commission. So it does not give a small group of people the ability to pass policy. It gives them the ability to determine whether an emergency process is necessary.
Okay, but it doesn't say the word vote in that clause at all, right? It just says call a special meeting. So I would like that like specified.
To consider the policy.
To committee work and call a special emergency of the floor to consider the policy. Well, I mean, that's not clear to me who has the authority to enact this policy. And you know what? Please no one ever use this against me and say that I'm trying to stop this GPO motion. That's not what's happening here. But this policy, this motion has such widespread effects. And I wish, not for once, but this time I agree that it should have gone through the committee. It did not, for once, maybe twice, but this is not an attempt to stall the process. I don't believe that I was never included except to read it and issue, and I received no feedback or response to my alternate motion. It's not a competing motion. I gave multiple also amendments to lack of clarity in the original motion that were very unclear, like misplaced modifiers that we didn't even know what was happening, So I would like to echo the sentiment I've heard from many people is that we should be collaborating. I think with all of the things I've done, I've attempted to collaborate. Whether you could disagree with me or not, I've attempted to collaborate. And I think something as important as this should probably get through a thorough discussion in public. So, and I've already noted multiple things. I'm happy to amend this. If we want to stay, we can amend this.
Okay,
But
thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Kennedy, okay.
I agree with Commissioner Wong. This is extremely important, and I think it would have been more thoroughly prepared had it gone to committee. Just two things I want to emphasize. One, no one said that there's a rule that things must go through committee. That's not what we're saying, right? And no one's suggesting that there is a rule that these types of motions need to go through committee. That's not what we're saying. And to talk about is sort of distracting from the point, in my opinion, number one. Number two, when I asked why this didn't go through committee, noticed that I got two very different answers, right? Commissioner Van Leer said we just couldn't coordinate our schedules, which, okay, I mean, it's a committee, so in a situation like this, you should probably call an emergency meeting for an emergency order. And then Commissioner Early said that that process shouldn't get in the way of progress, which I was not suggesting at all. That I don't think that putting something through committee would halt progress in any way. If anything, it strengthens your motion before it comes to the commission. And so that's just what I wanted to add in response to what I heard earlier.
Commissioner Benito.
Yes. I think when it comes to, the process through which this motion came, I think that all of the points around committee and collaboration are points well taken. I do want to just acknowledge that this particular motion has been collaborated on by the policy committee in terms of having discussion and that Commissioner Early took that input and worked with Commissioner Van Leer. I'm not saying that that we are in total agreement as an entire committee about those things, but I do think that in terms of whether there was opportunity for discussion and input by the policy committee, that this motion does do that. The other process point is taking input from the Division of Police. And while I don't believe that whether or not we make a stand and say that GPOs need to be worked on in collaboration with the CPC is something that we are going to take that we need feedback from the Division of Police because that's frankly already in the law. However, I do think it was really important that we receive feedback from the CDP on what this process might look like. And I do believe that with the meeting that we had yesterday and also with additional conversations that have happened with Commander Carney and other members, I do believe that this motion has also had that process. I do want to commend Commissioner Early, and I think he and I have had some frank conversations about process, but I do think that because we, however imperfect the process may have been, because we did come together and do this, I do think that we've made a lot of progress in making this collaboration happen, and so I want to thank him for his leadership on that. In terms of in this motion, whether there are specifics of what the process should look like, I just want to point out that in here it says no later than February 29, 2024, a process for final approval by the Commission of such policies, orders, directives, or notices shall be determined by the Commission. And so I think that what we are talking about is two separate directives, which I think is prudent because we do want to develop this process in collaboration with the CDP. There, in terms of Commissioner Wong talked about a 45-day, time limit for us to make decisions. And while when I first read it, I thought it was really good. However, through conversation with the division, right, it became clear that that doesn't necessarily make sense because, these policies also do have to go to the Department of Justice and to the monitoring team. And that process often takes longer than 45 days. And so there are still details to be worked out about yeah, there are still details to be worked out about what that, what the steps of that process look like, at what point the commission votes on it, at what point different people are going to look at the policy. However, we have, received commitment from the Division of Police that, in January, that we will be having a meeting with continued members of the police, including higher ups, to further solidify that process. And if for some reason that does not happen, we have the ability to bring another motion to the table to force that to happen. So, but I do feel, hopeful that there is buy-in to create that process. And so I just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
Commissioner Adams.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that that I think is the process for this imperfect, yes, but I think the process for a lot of things that we do are imperfect. I think there were 8 commissioners who worked on those grants, and we know that things sometimes do happen, and you just have to sometimes make decisions. So I just want to say that, but I also want to say that I do not want us to set a precedent where we have committees set up and that work that pertains to those committees don't work through those committees. I don't want that to be a precedent for the commission. So I think that's maybe what some of the conversation about process is about. But what I don't want us to also do, I don't want us to get lost in the weeds, because the reality is that this is a solid motion. It is something that we should be doing. And so, yeah, we can have conversations about process and how to do this better, but I do think we should focus on this motion. And so I also want to say that just like what we just did with the rules, I think I agree with you. I think that what this motion is doing is giving us some dates and some timelines about sort of like how we establish the beginnings of this process. But there does need to be some additional things, sort of like, so what happens like as we establish a foundation, and as we move forward and things happen, then we probably are going to have to revisit this motion as well and maybe pass something to make it even stronger. So I don't want us to get lost in that timeline thing, and I don't want us to get too lost in the process. I think everyone has valid points on that. What I would like to do is I would like to actually offer a friendly amendment to this motion. As I spoke with Commissioner Van Leer, I did not get an opportunity to speak with Commissioner Early, but what I would like to add is in the paragraphs, the one that starts with by January 31st and the one that starts with through these meetings, my concern is that I want a clear statement of when it says the commission, I would like that specified. I feel, and I've expressed this, my personal view is that I think that the chair of the policy committee should be the person, the point person for this. They are the head of policy. This is GPOs. So I would like that to say the chair of the policy committee. But I also think that because I've always felt this way, that the co-chairs should be aware of what's going on the full commission. So I think we need to respect the position and the authority of the policy committee chair, and they need to take the lead on this. But I also feel like the co-chairs, because they are co-chairs of the commission, should also be included. So I would just like that specified, because what I'm concerned about is I don't want a situation where a commissioner may say, well, it just says the commission, I'm on the commission, so I can be there or something. I just want clarity on that, so we're clear about what commissioners will be establishing the meetings, what commissioners will then be attending the meetings, and when the notification comes, which commissioners are going to be notified. So that would be just a friendly amendment. I support this motion, but I do think that as a chair of two committees, that I want the authority and the position of the chair of the committees to be respected.
I would second that. If there's do you have a specific language, or it sounds like what you're saying is that, so what I'm seeing, if I may.
Yep.
it's really the second paragraph that starts through these meetings and other means. The division shall notify the chair of the policy committee, the co-chairs, and the commission's executive director. And that's simple language. Is there something in the first paragraph that you?
I was pointing to the first two paragraphs.
Okay, so that would be the motion, then I could make that motion, the friendly amendment, to notify the policy committee chair, the co-chairs, and the executive director within 5 days.
What, can you clarify?
Well, I think we all should be notified, but I think that if there needs any action to be taken, then it can be the policy chair.
That's what it's about. It's about when the change, but yeah, I mean, certainly.
I
So
think
you're- Yeah.
What I was
Made a
thinking.
motion, so I think we need a second, and then we
Okay.
can figure it
Yeah.
out. We can say no.
Okay,
but-
so,
Just second it, and then we can put it on
So-
the table for discussion.
I don't even understand.
So it's in this, the paragraph that starts, it's the second full paragraph, through these meetings and other means, the division shall notify the chair of the policy committee, the co-chairs, and the executive director within 5 days. So that's my motion, a friendly amendment.
I'll
So I need a
second that.
So then we
Okay.
can talk about it.
so it has been properly moved in second for a friendly amendment of the commission being comprised of the chair of the policy committee, the co-chairs, and the executive director. Are there any questions or discussion pertaining to the friendly amendment at this time?
Well, I still think that there's a lot of work on this motion. I will address that later, but GPO's notices, directives, and orders don't just affect the
So
policy.
it's just
Point of order,
pertaining
this is a
to
friendly
friendly
amendment. We're
amendment at this
discussing the
time.
amendment. Point of
So I'm
order.
discussing it.
No,
I'm discussing it because I would argue if the policy chair is included, why is the accountability chair not included in this? No,
Okay.
it's not about that.
Okay, so thank you so much for your comment. Is there any further question or debate at this time?
I think.
Commissioner
just-
Adams.
I had a comment after Mr. Churro.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So it's only pertaining to the friendly amendment at this time. The friendly amendment will be voted up or down, and then we will go back to the main motion.
I just wanted to clarify my thinking of with the amendment was I think that I just want a clear channel of leadership and communication. I believe that my thinking is that as the policy committee chair, it's their thing. So I feel like they need to be included. And then I believe that once those communications happen, then what I would assume what would happen is that the policy committee chair would then reach out to the policy committee, and then the co-chairs would then communicate whatever was needed to be communicated with the full commission. So in making that suggestion, that was what I had in mind in terms of like a clear, like kind of chain of command and communication system.
Okay. Are there any further questions on the friendly amendment? Okay, hence none. We're gonna call the vote for the friendly amendment, which is the commission to be comprised of the meetings for the policy of the chair as well as the co-chairs. Commissioner Adams.
Aye.
Commissioner Benito.
Aye.
Commissioner Shura.
Aye.
Commissioner Early.
Aye.
Commissioner Kennedy.
Aye.
Commissioner Reeves.
Aye.
Co-chair Ridgway.
Aye.
Commissioner Van Leer.
Aye.
Commissioner Wong.
Aye.
Commissioner Zayed.
Aye.
Co-chair Rodriguez, aye. It has been properly moved in second to include the friendly amendment. Now we're going to go back to the main motion, which is regarding the GPO's notices and directives. The next person to speak was Shura.
Thank you. I just have a few comments. General police orders, they're long-term. They could go for years before they're changed or revised. They're usually a draft put out, and if it affects the whole division, it'll go to all the commanders, the captains, the lieutenants, the sergeants, down to the patrol officers for any kind of comments or suggestions. The unions will move into or make their suggestions. With general police orders, sometimes it also involves like outside agencies, like CIT, domestic violence situations, things like that, where we're outside the division, our partners that we work with. I've never seen an emergency GPO. It just doesn't exist, as far as I ever seen. Commander Connie was here, I'd ask him too, but I've never seen an emergency GPO. Now, DNs, on the other hand, they're short term. They pertain to A lot of times it might be officer safety issues, such as like where people are concealing drugs, how drugs are now packaged. They make, they make it all look like cereal and everything like that, like candy. Weapons concealment in vehicles, whatever the weapon might be. It might be a concealed, it might be a pen that looks like a pen, but it could be a zip gun. Things of that nature. I don't think any of us would have a problem with the division putting a DN out for officer safety. Officer safety should be paramount for everybody, the division and us. We could always go back and look at something like that later. As far as GPOs go, I put the drafts out. We all have a city email. All they have to do is include us on that. When we get the drafts, we read them. We can discuss them at one of our meetings. If we have a problem, we can work with whoever you're working with, if it's Carney or whoever it might be at the time, and try to resolve our issues. It seems, it doesn't seem that hard to me, but it's up to the city to give us that information, and that's why I support this motion also.
Commissioner Wong.
Okay, Mr. Early, I appreciate your perspective, but this is not about that. I would encourage you to think about the connections between the training, accountability, and policy committees. Again, I do not support this motion because of content issues that arose from the policy. I did give my motion last week, and I tried to talk to Mr. Early about it. He did not seem like he wanted to collaborate, and it seemed to have fallen on 3 of the 5 committee members to lead the charge on this, which I appreciate, but I don't think that that is conducive to what the spirit of a committee should be. What my main problem with this, including this emergency I think that part probably could just be removed, is that there doesn't seem to be an enforcement incentive in this at all. What happens if they do not give us within 5 days? How do we even know when they release something what 5 days will be? And if we don't receive the final process by February 29th, 2024, we will have been delayed, unfortunately, another 2 months. And I don't want to disparage Commander Carney, but my experience with the division is influenced by the fact that our Brady Giglio group has asked for records since October 27th. And the same, it's 52 days now. They're supposed to provide this in 21 days. I think going to the division, who suddenly, it seems like, I don't know what it was, maybe it was the last meeting, suddenly the Red Sea is parting. Does that seem right? Go ahead. Sorry, to me, I just would like us to face that I disagree with you. I don't think this is aggressive enough because I don't think it actually compels them to answer to our authority. It doesn't bring it close enough to the statutory requirement that this is our authority. And there's a real big problem because the first whereas clause should not be there because it doesn't address everything. So I don't support this motion because it didn't receive the brain trust of the entire commission, which I think is a very bad. I read this revised motion, which has completely been revised since last week. At about 2:30, I received it. I need to think about this. And this is a process that we're establishing for the long term. And maybe the consequence is just, we lose another 2 months. But frankly, I'm tired of that. I am tired of us falling for every single obstructive trap that the city is willing to put in front of us. Because there is one problem here. You spoke to Commander Carney. Do you think Commander Carney is in charge of this? Do you think he is the last and final authority about whether this GPO can go through? Because I know he's not. Because he told me that he has the records for Brady Giglio, but it would rely upon Delonte Spencer Thomas to give it to me. Not sure why the law department is interjecting themselves in this, but I think we really need to have a reality check about what the effectiveness of this motion will actually be. So I do not support it.
Thank you. So the final comment so that we can move this process along will be Commissioner Van Leer.
Yeah, so mine is just a quick response regarding the email notifications. If anybody either reach out to me or Commissioner Benito, because they're adding emails from the policy committee at least to that notice. And I would love to have anybody else who wants to be on it, just let me know. or let Commissioner Benito know, and we'll make sure everybody's on the list.
I think the whole commission should be getting the emails.
I don't want people to get emails they don't want, but if y'all want them, we'll do it. Okay, we'll make sure, we'll send them along.
Okay, the question is on the adoption of the motion regarding the GPO's notices, directives, and orders with the friendly amendment. We will call a vote. Commissioner Adams?
Aye.
Commissioner Benito?
Aye.
Commissioner Shura?
Aye.
Commissioner Early? Commissioner Kennedy?
Abstain.
Commissioner Reeves?
Aye.
Co-Chair Ridgway?
Aye.
Commissioner Van Leer?
Aye.
Commissioner Wong?
No.
Commissioner Zayed?
Aye.
Co-Chair Rodriguez? Aye. Motion carried. The next,
Just to the chair, co-chair. So it carried with this statement on the, next to the last paragraph, about emergency, even though,
Yeah.
yep.
even though it was stated by,
The only addition was the friendly amendment. There wasn't any other form of motion, so at this time, we're going to move forward with the next item of business. At this time, I did not receive police accountability, so if we can please have just a quick reflection on the training committee.
What are you talking about? Here.
Huh?
I have a report.
For the accountability?
Yeah.
Okay, I apologize. Police Accountability Committee.
Okay, I do want to just make a reference that what we passed is something negotiated with the city, so I caveat emptor in the future. So the Police Accountability Committee, I'm glad to report that though we have not met as a committee, because quite frankly, we don't have the records and we don't have some of the work that we need done from the staff to proceed. I don't believe in wasting the public's time on this. Brady Giglio work group and discipline work groups have been pushing forward. The discipline work group met for once, and we have very seasoned people like Mr. Lima and Mr. Richard Jackson on that were at the meeting. So I'm glad that we are moving forward and on that. And all of our work groups, you can Zoom in or you can attend in person. The Brady Giglio work group, I would like to comment about a little bit more. That has been stalled, as you know, since October 27th was when we requested the records. To this date, we still have not received the records. I'm a little trouble, Mr. Goodrick. I haven't mentioned this to you, that I noticed when I looked back at the records request that you had changed my records request without consultation with me. If you want to address that, and if I can continue.
Absolutely, because I think it was brought up previously that we have a problem with distortion of what is being said. So why don't we pull up the emails and read both, and you can explain why that
right now
the words that were changed affected anything. And if you have any evidence that, because your accusation is that the reason that you haven't received your records has something to do with one or two words that were different in the request.
No, I'm not
and you've
suggesting
made that
that.
accusation, so if you're going to make it publicly, I will defend myself against
That's
your
fine.
public accusations.
That's fine.
So would you like
did-
to read the emails?
No, thank you so much. Please continue to give your report. He stated his opinion. We are short on time and we have business items. Please
All
continue your
I've
report.
said is that my records request was changed. I believe in consultation with the chair, it changed the nature of the request because it turned it from a disciplinary file to a human resources file, where are different locations for those files. That's why I'm concerned. I did ask Mr. Goodrick to follow up, and what has happened since then is that during our last meeting, if you remember, I spoke about this. And coincidentally, during the meeting, I was sent an email from Mr. Spencer Thomas, who is now apparently being tasked with fulfilling our records request. And I noticed again in the record, what he was giving me were records that we already had, which is, I do not consider a fulfillment of our records request, which is simply the full disciplinary files for every officer charged from 2022 and 2023. I don't think that there is that much confusion about it. Then and this is very important because the records are quite important. And what I've experienced with that and the attorney are representative of what view we should be having about the city's role and potential obstruction at this point. At that point, if the records were going to be presented on a flash drive, I had to wait another weekend for them. Mr. Goodrick picked them up. Thank you very much. We confirmed that they were the records that we already had, and in no attempt, maybe 6 emails from me, not called him yet, has Mr. Spencer Thomas, who is of the law department, conveyed to me that he understands that our records request has not been fulfilled. This is quite egregious. The lawyer who is from the public defender's office has even issued her legal opinion about this. As you may know, there is a ruling from the judge of 21 days. So I'm very concerned that 52 days after this, apparently the judge's ruling is not sufficient for people to fulfill these records requests. So the Brady Giglio Group is thinking about other options. And Mr. Goodrick, I'm hoping that you will facilitate these. One option is subpoena power. And I would like the whole commission to think about why the disciplinary records are so important that the city, this is the second request we've made. The other request has not been made. So that is my report. Thank you.
Commissioner Shura.
A quick comment. Supposedly, the investigations are now in IA Pro, a data system the division is using. That should have the complete investigation all the way through. The city's going to say that there might be some stuff that's obtained through leads that we wouldn't be privy to. However, if you're certified in leads, there's different levels of lead certification. So if you took like the basic, you could still read the basic information. You'd be writing. You'd have to fill out a form, saying that you would not reveal this information to anyone. So there is different levels of leads. So
Yeah.
I'm already certified in leads now at a basic level. So
I do want to clarify, if I was just a public person, I asked for the disciplinary file of the officer, I can get that. So it's a public record. So I don't even understand the level of certification that's necessary.
well, there's different things.
Yeah.
If there's a criminal history, computerized criminal history in there, that's not public for the general public to have.
Mr. Chair is right that I was told by Mr. Carney and by Mr. Spencer Thomas in writing that these records are somehow in different places and different sources. So I'm taking pause with that.
At one point, they were located in different like Human Resources had a file at the City Hall that for a long time I didn't even know existed. When Internal Affairs has their own files, they usually have a hard copy. Everything used to be on paper. Now it's all electric, which is fine unless we have the grid go down. But so the information's out there. It's just a matter of getting the city to give it to us.
Okay. So I do see, but we have to continue business. The next item of business is Police Training Committee.
I know we're running short of time, so I will say we did have our first police training, engaging the community through scenario police training, reflection, police training this past Saturday. I think it went really well. Essentially the police came and they did 3 scenarios of use of force training that they use, and we had members of the community, the commission, the CDP were there. And so what I would like to say is I definitely just want to we're running short on time, but I want to say thank you to some people. I would like to say thank you to Commissioner Chura and Commissioner Donaldson and Latanya Goldsby for being a part of the work group that put the event together. I would like to say thank you to Shelly, who did a lot of hard work doing the proposal. She helped us. She basically was kind of like, as things got going, call Shelly, and she made a lot of things happen. And the event was really well. It looked great. I would like to thank Commander Magooth, Lieutenant Smith, Captain Simon, and all the other police that were there, because the police, they were not forced to do this. They agreed to give up their Saturdays to do this event for the community. I would also like to thank all the community members, that came and were present, as well as the commissioners who came as well. And lastly, I would like to say that we've already agreed that we're going to do another one of these events in April. And so essentially what we're doing is we're going to wait for Commander Magooth to select the date, because we need the police to actually staff it. And once we get the date, we'll start promotions and we'll start to get ready. And that next event will be on the west side. Thank you.
Thank you. So it was a great event. Kudos to the training committee. The next item of business is the outside counsel for the mayor's letter.
Thank you. So I hope everybody got to read both copies of this motion. I took, Mr. Donaldson had sent me some feedback, and I received some feedback verbally. So the changes I made were to the last whereas paragraph. And this is just so everybody knows, we had selected Mr. Wallach as our conflict of interest attorney. However, the city has now stated that without knowing who can finalize the contract among the commission, who speaks for the commission, that all contract finalization with Mr. Wallach has stalled. So my concern is that with the contract, is that there were two contracts sent, one with two different scopes of work. The first one was about the commission's mission and a conflict of interest. The second one was no conflict of interest discussion apparently, but only about the letter. And more troublingly, as me and Mr. Chura have discussed, there are provisions in the contract which I sent to you that state that Mr. Griffin, the law director, will have the ability to monitor Mr. Wallach's work product every 2 weeks, his writings, and will have the ability to fire him under disciplinary rule 2.1110 or something like that. I don't, and I think Mr. Chura agrees, believe that this is good for the independence of we are the client here, I think Mr. Wallach would obviously, he is a party to the contract because it's his contract. So I even said to Mr. Wallach, feel free to negotiate the contract. This is right to do so. But the city ceased everything because at some point, the city, without knowing who was in charge, said, we want to limit his work to 30 days, which I thought was a little bit, why? Especially during the holidays. And also why? Because we're supposed to, right? He could find more things, and it could be, can we extend by a few minutes? Because it's 5 minutes left.
I can't.
You can't?
No.
Okay, so I'm just adding Mr. Chura. So it's not just me. Mr. Chura, I think I chose him because he's obviously negotiated work contracts, and he was also good enough to notice some of the problems with the contract itself. And we would represent the commission. Mr. Wallach would represent himself. I'm not sure what the city's role would be. I would be happy to, because I always intended to bring back anything to you that I found. It's not like we're going to go into a room and decide this by ourselves. And since I've worked on this basically by myself since August, I would like the entire commission to finalize it. So I don't know if there's any comments.
Is there a second?
Is there a second? Sorry, what is it?
Oh, she want to put this motion forward for regarding engagement of outside
So,
counsel.
the motion
Is there a second at this
Is
time?
there a second?
Is it a second?
second.
Okay. It was properly moved and seconded. The question is on the adoption of the motion regarding engagement of outside counsel. Is there any question or debate at this time? I think Commissioner Zayed and then Benito.
So when I gave verbal feedback regarding my opinion on this, I asked that you, first of all, you are fully, you're qualified to do these negotiations, and we are so lucky to have Commissioner Chur and his knowledge. But also, I don't think that the commission is fully represented with just the two of you. I asked that you reached out to Co-Chair Ridgway to ask her if she would be able to sit in on those negotiations, and she said that she was not.
I called Co-Chair Ridgway, right? I called you because you said, can I call you later? You didn't call me back, so I called you this afternoon.
I was at the hospital.
I'm sorry,
so
yeah,
I can't
so.
call you if I'm at the hospital.
Right, but I did call her.
I do want to, if I could,
Friendly amendment.
offer a friendly amendment to add Co-Chair Ridgway in the negotiations.
I will, okay, you can second it?
I'll second that.
The question is on the adoption of the friendly amendment of adding Co-Chair Ridgway to the commissioners that will discuss the outside counsel. Is there any further question or debate at
I
this time?
will say that regardless if you add Commissioner Van Leer or anybody else, the more people in the room, the harder we are going to have. And I don't understand what representation, and we throw that word around a lot, means here, because
Okay,
we're
we're on the
representing
time.
we're representing the interests of the commission. And if you don't trust me and Mr. Chura to finalize this contract while coming back to you, I'm not really sure. I welcome Commissioner Ridgway, but it's going to be more cumbersome with 3 people managing.
We
it.
have,
Nothing to do with the distrust of you two, just the
But you know, with
concerns
3
that other
people, it's
commissioners
gonna.
have.
And Mr. Chura has already said that he's not going to be able to make.
Commissioner Benito.
I have no problem with someone else being on the.
Commissioner Benito.
Thank you.
Good. Any further question or debate on this friendly amendment? Okay, let's take a vote. Commissioner Adams.
Aye.
Commissioner Benito.
Aye.
Commissioner Shore.
Aye.
Commissioner Early.
Aye.
Commissioner Kennedy.
Aye.
Commissioner Reeves.
Aye.
Co-Chair Ridgway.
Aye.
Commissioner Van Leer.
Aye.
Commissioner Wong.
I.
Commissioner Zayed.
Aye.
Co-Chair Rodriguez. Aye. The friendly amendment passes with unanimous consent. So we will go back to the main motion, which is, I'm sorry, I got a lot of papers here. Hiring the outside legal counsel. Commissioner Benito.
I just have a statement to read from Commissioner Donaldson, which says that, in my opinion, some of the language in the original motion was subjective, so I want to thank Commissioner Wong for updating the motion. I would suggest that the current motion identifies the members of the ad hoc committee mentioned in point 2. From my understanding, the ad hoc committee members are Commissioner Wong, Commissioner Van Leer, Commissioner Early. That said, I am not sure why Commissioner Schur is included in the, quote, authority to take all actions necessary to effectuate Mr. Wallach's engagement. Shouldn't that action be reserved for members of the ad hoc committee? And I will just say that I don't understand the distinction of not including the members of the ad hoc committee in that, but I think that I appreciate the friendly amendment. I feel like that addresses some of that concern. So.
Mm-hmm. So we have Commissioner Van Leer. I see Commissioner Gregg. And then we have Co-Chair Ridgway. Okay, so I need to formally extend the meeting. I'm sorry, I was trying to get this in, but can I please have a motion to extend the meeting?
I move to extend the meeting by 10 minutes.
I second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to extend the meeting to 10 minutes. Is there any question or debate? Okay, we already been said. Okay, so we're gonna take the vote. Commissioner Adams?
Aye.
Commissioner Benito?
Aye.
Commissioner Shura?
Aye.
Commissioner Early?
Aye.
Commissioner Kennedy?
Aye.
Commissioner Reeves?
Aye.
Co-Chair Ridgway?
Aye.
Commissioner Van Leer?
Aye.
Commissioner Wong?
I.
Commissioner Zayed?
Aye.
Commissioner Co-Chair Rodriguez? Aye. The motion passes with unanimous consent. We're gonna return back to the ad hoc committee.
So, do you want to go first?
Yeah, just real quick, and this isn't the first time this happened. Should we really be reading comments from commissioners that are not present? Because our meetings aren't supposed to be virtual, right? And that's kind of like a virtual comment. Nothing against Commissioner Donaldson, but he's been a part of a meeting that he's not present at. Just ask.
Commissioner Benito?
Yeah, Commissioner Donaldson asked me if I would read the comments. I said that I was fine with that. I did ask at the beginning of the meeting if that was okay. They said yes, so I don't.
Oh, no, and this
I
is,
mean, we did it before. There's no formal rule per
that was
se,
my
so-
point. We've
okay.
done it before.
Yep.
But I'm saying, is that okay? You all okay? This obviously is okay with you.
I did ask permission.
Right, right.
But-
It's nothing against you or even against Commissioner Donaldson. I'm just saying, we're slowing down our meeting, reading from somebody that's not here. Is that fair?
Points well taken. Co-Chair Ridgway?
I don't necessarily want to address what you said, but we have always said you couldn't vote
Oh,
if
yeah, I
you
know
were
that.
not here. But we've had other times
know.
that, I guess we need to decide what we're gonna do with that. I just wanna make sure.
Let's ensure that we go back
clarify
to the
this
motion. Mhm.
Because it isn't, what we were asked to do was to determine who would actually be working with the law department. It's not for the outside attorney. That's been accepted, that we would go forward with the outside attorney. They were establishing the contract. And the issue came up about the time for the lawyer to respond. At that point, the legal department said they're getting directions from a couple of different people who should be giving them directions. And until they receive directions as a result of a full commission vote determining who that will be, they're going to set that contract aside until they get that in the minutes. Full commission vote. That's the way that came. That's why it came back to the table. Not for the outside attorney, but to determine who has the authority to speak for the commission.
I do. Okay, I have a slight correction on that because the emails will show that a timeline was offered. I said nothing about it because I would bring it back to you guys. Naturally, at that point, no one was designated. I was just on the emails because it seemed natural. But unfortunately, one of the co-chairs said, yes, go ahead with that. And I did not think that they had the authority. This is why I was hesitant to include them on this. And co-chair Ridgway is right. We're not voting on the attorney, right? We are selected him. But my other concern is that neither of the co-chairs looked at the contract to notice the very fact that Mr. Griffin will be in some ways controlling this attorney, which defies the entire point of an independent lawyer. So, Co-Chair Ridgway, I welcome your, contributing with Mr. Chura and I. The reason and to address Mr. Donaldson's issue, but we need to be very careful about this because we don't want to hamstring, we've worked on this for a long time, we don't want to hamstring this attorney who is going to, who is very, qualified and one of the only ones that can help us because of all the attorneys work for the city, a lot of them. To answer Mr. Donaldson's question, I'm perfectly fine with Mr. Van Leer or Mr. Early coming with me, but the problem is that is a quorum of the ad hoc committee. And I'm perfectly, ad hoc, and also the policy committee, but also if only Mr. Van Leer came with me, it's still a quorum of the ad hoc committee. I am actually fine. I will go on record. If you want to negotiate this contract live on TV, I'm all for that. But if the city, and I have to say, the city, I want to emphasize again, the city is not the client in this relationship. We are the client and we are in conflict with the city. We determined that, right? We determined that we're in conflict. So the only two people that should be negotiating are the commission and Mr. Wallach, who has our interests because he's serving as our attorney and he also has bounds. Okay, we have 4 minutes, so that's what I want to explain about it. If you want to have the live, a negotiation with the city, I'd be all for it. And Mr. Early and Mr. Van Leer can
Okay, thank you. I just have a few points of just observing the process. So just for the record, when submitting the information for legal agreement form, it should reflect the motion that was approved in the full commission. That all commissioners should review and completely understand a contract because it's legally binding, right? Mm-hmm. So if we don't have it, that is a concern for me. So this is something to consider in the future. That contracts should have in writing a time frame and a clause to extend time if requested. Generally, if we receive documents, whether it's from the city, from the police, there is a time. So that it's not extending and that especially since this issue has prolonged. This is just in general best practice. And I would say the last point is that contracts should not be sent in a forward email to commissioners, because then that would be subject to open meetings and public requests. So these are just some observations to consider for helping to improve the process.
I don't want to
Commissioner
speak for Commissioner Ridgway and Mr. Chura. We'd be happy to bring back any concerns about the contract. I had never intended not to include you in the process. It was to facilitate a process that we've been missing an independent attorney since January 1st of last year. And I think that's way too long.
Okay.
So that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, should we call for the vote with the friendly amendments? The question is on the adoption of the motion regarding the outside counsel and with the friendly amendment. Commissioner Adams.
Aye.
Commissioner Benito.
Aye.
Commissioner Shura.
Aye.
Commissioner Early. Commissioner Kennedy.
Nay.
Commissioner Reeves.
Aye.
Co-Chair Ridgway.
You're in it. You have to vote whether you want to go.
Commissioner Van Leer.
Aye.
Commissioner Wong.
Aye.
Commissioner Zayed.
Aye.
Co-Chair Rodriguez. Aye. Motion carried. The next item of business.
Oh, wait, can we just like?
I
What
can
about
do the
elections? What about the election?
Oh, the election. Oh, we have that. We need to get that done. The election, are we doing nominations?
We're at 10 minutes. We're at 10 minutes, so either we adjourn or extend again, but keep in mind, we have people who are coming in on overtime.
But we don't have any other time unless we do a special meeting. So I would motion to extend by 10 minutes. Do I have a second?
Almost an hour to leave.
About 5
But then we
minutes.
can't have the election on Oh my gosh, we have a special, we can't,
5
we
minutes.
have 10 minutes though. We just need to nominate.
Okay.
I move to extend the meeting by 5 minutes specifically to do nominations for the co-chair election.
I second.
And
It's properly been moved and second to extend the meeting for 5 minutes regarding the
It can be voted.
nomination of co-chairs. Any questions or debate?
no. Just vote.
Okay, we got to move to a vote. Commissioner Adams?
Yeah.
Extend by 5.
Yes. Yes.
Commissioner Benito?
Aye.
Commissioner Shura?
Aye.
Commissioner Early?
Aye.
Commissioner Kennedy?
Aye.
Commissioner Reeves?
Aye.
Co-Chair Ridgway?
Aye.
Commissioner Van Leer?
Aye.
Commissioner Wong?
Aye.
Commissioner Zayed? Co-Chair Ridgway? Aye. Motion carried. The slate for the nominations of co-chair will open. Is there anyone that would like to?
I'm not nominating anybody. I'm just saying that we did discuss, I think in what we should look at the rules. I mean, this is not the only time to nominate, I think.
I would like to nominate Commissioner Van Leer for co-chair.
So we have Van Leer. Is there any other further nominations at this time?
I would like to nominate Commissioner Zayed.
Commissioner Zayed?
Sorry, I didn't talk to either of you before I did this. I'd like to nominate Commissioners Benito and Adams.
Benito.
You can also withdraw. Yeah, you can decline. Not that you should, but like.
I would like to nominate Commissioner Early.
Early.
Do you want to decline? You can think about it too.
Just move a bit. Just move a bit.
Any other further nominations?
Anyone like to self-nominate?
Any other nominations at this time?
You can still nominate yourself or other people. Was it a week or something? 7 days.
According to the rules, so if you were nominated tonight, all you have to do is confirm within 7 days if you accept. That's the rule you just adopted. So, no need to speak on it tonight or.
Okay, so the nominations are Commissioner Early, Commissioner Adams, Commissioner Benito, Commissioner Van Leer, Commissioner Zayed. Nominations closed.
For now. adjourn?
Well, we probably, I don't think we got,
What?
We said it was just to do this. We said it was just for the election.
Right.
Oh, there's public comment, though. We skipped that.
We just did it for one.
Extended just for that.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is O.C. Maynell, and I am. Thank you. Good evening, commissioners. My name is O.C. Maynell. I am the president and CEO for Spread the Love Foundation, one of your community partners. We were approved for a grant from the commission, and we are en route to start our programming at the Juvenile Detention Center, and we are awaiting funds. Like, our program is due to launch the second week of January. We haven't even received a agreement to sign, let alone a check. And so I'm asking, like, where are we in the process? Because we were expecting for this to be done by October or November. We going into 2024.
Oh,
I would suggest you talk offline to.
yeah.
So you have to, I'm going to say that's my understanding is that once we pass the grants that the facilitation with the city goes to the
every
executive
single
director.
grantee is in a different stage of the process, so check your email.
I have. I'm on my emails every day.
Okay.
I haven't received
Have
anything.
you sent what?
I've sent everything.
What was
I've
requested?
I've had
Okay, so the
4 or
law
5
department is
different
trying to
emails.
process, 2 people are trying to go through 30 contracts. They're working as fast as they can to get every contract facilitated as quickly as possible. So as soon as the contract is ready from law department, it will be sent over. If you provided all the documentation that was requested in the emails to so that they can finalize the contract, it'll be here as soon as they can do it.
We don't have
So,
no idea when
We
this
do
is
not
gonna-
have a timeline. No,
We
they're
can't
working
call-
as fast as they
We can't
can.
call and check. I'm
You
from
can-
the
you
city
can-
too,
you can
Jason,
follow up
so
with
I
me.
know
Okay.
how things
You
go.
can, any
Thank you.
grantee can
So
follow.
when I received the last email that I received from Janita, or I'm sorry if I'm butchering her name, but it was another email. Oh, we forgot this. And then another email. Oh, we forgot that. Oh, and then the law department want to know. And so at the end of the day, to go back and piggyback on your comment about the infrastructure for small startup grassroots organizations, we out here trying to do the work. I'm here doing the work with y'all in addition to what my organization is doing. So at the end of the day, what I expect from this process is at least communication so that we can continue to do the work, because at the end of the day, I've been doing this work for free for 3 years, but I cannot expect staff to come on board and to move forward with Cuyahoga County if we don't have funding. So it's fine if it's stuck in the process, but what I do expect is to be communicated with so that I know I'm not wasting my time with this process.
Understood.
So
And we'll check all the communications and see exactly where we're at if you need to after this meeting. So I'll pull up your specific email chain and see exactly what point we are at.
you want me to send it to you?
No, I'm CC'd on all of it. Yes.
Okay, well,
Yes.
you're not CC'd on all of them because I took you off some of them.
Oh, okay.
Well, me and Janita were going, back and forth, but I sent her everything that she asked for, and that was still weeks ago.
Yeah.
So if the law department was already looking at it and they provided feedback, I don't understand why it's taking more weeks on top of weeks to say, okay, you did what you needed to do. Why is it not going through? And you can look in the procurement system and see where everything is stuck.
And well, the funds are already put aside, so it's a matter of contract. No funds can be released until there's a signed contract. So I'll look at where you are in the contracts process. So
Okay, so I should know something by tomorrow. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, we'll know
Especially
something
like
tonight. You and I will
Monday is
take a look at it
Christmas.
tonight. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I have a few more minutes, but I have people that's waiting on me because we got 400 toys to
Then
get
I'll
out
call
between
you.
tomorrow and
Get the
yeah.
toys, and I'll circle back with you in the morning. OC. Okay.
Thank you, guys.
I know Ms. Bickerstaff.
Yeah, I don't want to know what's taking y'all so long with this lawyer issue.
We've been at time.
This lawyer issue's been going on a long time. What is the problem? Why does it keep going back and forth, back and forth? This has been going on for a while. Why is it that this gotta keep dragging? What's the issue with that? See, this is what I need to focus on instead of focusing on me. Trying to attack me. Where is the lawyer at?
The meeting is adjourned at 8:48